Okay, you know what's embarrassing? Is that I said, "Oh, I'm gonna come at 4:15 because I'm running behind." And now it's 4:17 and I was still struggling to start this on time. Yay, 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 yay. Anyhow, how's everyone doing? You know, we're just doing a Thursday stream. Nothing. Where is? Oh, hold on a sec. Yeah, okay. Hello. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing today? I need this higher. How is everybody doing today? Hey, Zach. Hey, May. We're just saying hi to everybody. Hey, Fuacha. How you guys doing? Apiria Hamas 25. I hear you, but I'm not gonna say, whatever. Certain things I can't say, certain things, got to be careful. Thank you, Fuacha, for the super chat. You're so sweet. I appreciate you. Thank you. Just want to take a minute to let everybody, start. So I don't know if you guys saw my, hey, Mohammed. Sorry, guys, I'm sure I'll get a little bit more exercise during this, but like if I'm acting a little bit, it's because I don't really feel that great. I don't know if it's COVID. I'm going to take a COVID test later. I don't know if it's, my usual depression that kind of pulls me out every once in a while. I don't know if it's the medication that I'm on or the shot of tirzepatide that I'm on, because I took a higher dose this last week. I don't know if it's the smoking medication I'm on. I don't know. I just don't feel that great today. But hey, old Bodie Bird. So, but we proceed. We are still going to do this live. I want to talk about hidden jigger. I've been on Wellbutrin before. It really did not work for me because I have really, really bad anxiety and I have OCD and panic disorder, and Wellbutrin just made my anxiety so much worse. Yeah, so I honestly don't know what it is that is making me feel this way. Yeah, Henry, I have been on Chantix for a while, trying to quit smoking. You guys know, who know me, that I've been trying to quit smoking for a while. I finally got on Chantix because I tried everything else. I didn't really want to get on Chantix, but like I tried everything else and nothing else has worked, I did the easy way method. I actually even went to their in-person conference. I've done the patch, I did hypnosis, I did cold turkey, la 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 la. Like nothing has worked. So that's why I'm on Chantix. You never disappoint me. Oh, thanks, Fuachad. Oh, Twitter's been a dumpster fire lately. Twitter has been a dumpster fire. Oh my gosh. Yeah, oh man. Yeah, a lot of people on Twitter specifically, it's weird. I've told you guys this before, but it's weird how different platforms get different reactions depending on what kind of content I make. And when I made those videos talking about how I didn't support, as of right now, I didn't support Jill Stein. I got criticisms on all the platforms that I posted it on, but nothing like on Twitter. It kind of reminded me of the Sean King thing when I made that video criticizing Sean King, and for whatever reason, it got the most hate on Instagram than anywhere else. But with the with me saying, with my video saying that I wasn't supporting Jill Stein, I got the most hate about that on Twitter. I got a lot of people being like, oh, hey, Welsh Republic. I'm going to be on the Welsh Republic's podcast on the 12th of September, just in case anyone wants to join it. Yeah, but I got so much hate on Twitter, and a comment that I got a lot that I thought was really interesting, but also weird, was people being like, oh, I thought I knew you. You talked about this and now you're, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was just so exhausting because I'm like, first of all, if anybody has consistently followed me, they would not be surprised by that content. Like, you wouldn't be surprised. But like, people on Twitter act like I need to toe their line and agree with everything they say. And if I don't, and if I don't like their candidate, then that means that I lied somehow. Like, that's what they were acting like. They were just like, why? You acted like you were this way, or you were on the left and it was a lie, and that's why I followed you and I was like, there were people, and someone actually wrote this, that were acting like they were deceived by me, that like they followed me because of, you know, me speaking out against Zionism, which I am anti-Zionist. And then because I criticized Jill Stein, they're like, how could you betray me like that? I'm like, it's not, and I don't mean this to be rude, but like, it's not my problem that you didn't follow my content and like what I said. I never said I liked Jill Stein. I never said I was going to vote for her. I never said I was a Green Party member. I never said I was going to vote third party. I never said it. And then they're like acting like I'm some betray to the left. It's like, it literally says in my bio, patriot. Like, I love this, like, I love my country. And people are like acting shocked by it's like, okay, if you want to get mad and you want to get shocked and you want to be rageful because I'm not like fitting into your club or whatever of like how you view leftism, you can do that. But it's not my fault that you projected your beliefs onto me. I'm a person who has varied beliefs. And if you want to project your beliefs on me, that's not my fault. And then not my fault when I disappointed the creation of ideology that you projected on me. Okay. Anyhow. Actually, Hidden Jagger, somebody actually did say that I was being anti-Semitic by saying that I didn't support her. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was like, are you kidding me? What next? You don't support her? You don't support the Green Party? Hamas. It was a Hamas plant the whole time. And I don't even like criticize her in the bad faith way that you'll see Blue MAGA or Dems criticize her with like the Russia shit or like, you know, whatever, that kind of crap that people will like throw. It's like, and I wasn't like attacking her personally. Like, AOC getting online and saying that like she was predatory, like that's not even what I said. Whatever. It's just, I'm honestly exhausted with it because the left is always like crying about liberals being militant and attacking, you know, the left, which they do, for not being sufficiently loyal to the Democratic Party. But then they'll turn around and act just like them. Turn around acting just fucking like them. Like, Green MAGA is real. It's just exhausting. I don't know if you guys saw, a lot of this got kicked off because what I said about Jill Stein and those videos, and then obviously it got worse because I went on Sabby Sab's podcast the other night and basically reiterated exactly what I had said before. That's nothing against Sabby. I actually really liked her from the vibe that I got from her. I thought she was very nice. I thought she seemed genuine. I thought like, I liked her. So I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll come on. And she was very nice. But of course, she asked me about the Jill Stein stuff. It was her audience that made it very clear that they did not like me after that podcast. I'm like, bro, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to like me. Although I will say this, there was a person, and I'm not going to say like who it was because I don't know. They had like a profile picture, whatever, that came to my page afterwards and was like calling me like really, really, really bad names. And then when I like retweeted their post or whatever and made fun of them for it, they were like, huh, typical liberal using personal attacks. I'm like, you can't win. You can't. Everyone is Hamas. True. Hamas is hiding in the bag on my door. True. Actually, fuck is buzzing on my door. Well, hopefully my husband can let them in through the back. How do you guys? I love this keffiyeh. I recently got like a red one, but like I should take my hat off actually. I'm repeating myself, just annoyed. Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw the news about Russia, like Russia funneling money to right-wing podcasters like Tim Pool, which doesn't surprise me at all. What's his name? Benny Johnson, that hack. All of those people. That doesn't surprise me at all. And they're denying it, but sure, Jan. Like, it doesn't surprise me at all. I don't mind the criticism of that. They deserve to be criticized and made fun of for that. Absolutely. The thing that gets me is that why do we only care about Russia, but not the Israeli regime meddling in our elections? Like, what's AIPAC for Russia? Like, it's just really annoying. Two things can exist at the same time, as I often say, because people love to pretend that everything has to be one way or the other, that multiple things can't be true at the same time. It's like, it's both true at the same time that Russia will try to meddle in our elections and in our media via right-wing provocateurs. And also, it's embarrassing that we only in our media and in our press and in our government freak out about Russia, communism, Red Scare, but like don't have anything to say about the fact that the Israeli regime often does more so, way more so, does the same thing in our government, in our media, and to our politicians. It's amazing. I saw Hey Amor. So May, I saw your comment about the attack on the school in Georgia. It of course made me really sad. I made a video about it. I actually recently posted, and you know, it made me sad, but there's this tweet that I put in the video that I did, that I put in the video that I made, that literally does live rent free in my house, in my head. And sorry, guys, just bear with me. I am kind of a little bit out of it because I don't really feel that way well today. So I'm like, if I'm stumbling or whatever, but the tweet is from this guy who posted in 2015. In retrospect, the moment that we decided that killing children was bearable, the gun control debate was over. And I think about that tweet every single time this happens because he's right. He's right. Yeah, boomers do still think it's the Cold War. It's really embarrassing. Like, if you look at the way the right wing is running the Trump campaign, it's all like Kamala Harris is a communist. Like, it's so outdated. Yeah, I put Rabbi Schmuley in it because I want to watch the Candace Owens Rabbi Schmuley debate. I thought it would be fun to watch it with you guys. I don't think YouTube is really weird about the way they enforce copyright. So I don't think it should be a problem because I've gone over Piers, but do you condemn Hamas Morgan's show before? So I don't think Piers Morgan does copyright claims on YouTube creators who comment on his stuff, but I'm not sure. So we're going to do it anyway. Hopefully Piers understands that, you know, as content creators, we all of us as content creators, especially as content creators who do commentary on the news, I hope that he understands that we use each other's clips, you know? So if, we use each other's clips, we comment on each other's clips, we do all that kind of thing. So hopefully he won't have a problem with it. And I've done it before on other videos that he did because he brings a lot of lunatics on. So yeah, so we're going to do that. And then I also want to go over the, I also want to go over the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast where they were doing genocidal like defense of Israelis talking about Gaza and then apologized and kind of denied it, said it was taken out of context, but then doubled down. It's really embarrassing. So sorry guys, I know I say way too much. And yeah, I'm not a fan of Candace Owens, but she destroyed that guy in the debate by pointing out that Israel has a lot of sex offenders in the country, which is very disturbing. That's true. That's why when I go over this debate, like I am not fans of either of them. But when I'm doing commentary like this is the other thing I want to clarify. So I'm glad you brought this up, Welsh. I think some people think because I do political commentary, but I also like care about issues, that if I do commentary on something, it means I'm taking a side. Like, or that I like either of the people. I'm not a fan, nor do I support the views of either Rabbi Schmuley nor Candace Owens. Neither of them. Both of them to me are right-wingers. So, which obviously I'm not. So if I go over something of theirs, it doesn't mean that I'm a fan of Candace Owens or Rabbi Schmuley. It means that I'm going over the debate and I'm analyzing it. I'm going over it. I'm having a conversation with you guys about it. We're listening to the debate. We're talking about who was right in this case and who was wrong, who made a better point, if either of them made better points or if neither of them made better points. It's like political commentary. It doesn't mean I'm a fan. Paula Plaza, thank you for tweeting this or putting this comment in, I should say. I actually do know legitimate places because I've been personally fundraising for Palestinians on the ground in Gaza. There is a place called Al-Mawasi Healthcare. They are a organization that recently started of, actually, let me share my screen so that I can go to their page really quick, and then we'll get into the videos. Instagram. But I really appreciate you bringing this up. So they're also in my link tree, which I think I have my link tree in my bio. But I put the fundraisers in my link tree, in my bio on all my social medias. But if you were to go to Instagram and go to Al-Mawasi Healthcare, they're a volunteer. They're just people. It's a new organization. It's not like, it doesn't have long roots like the UN or whatever, but like it's just a group of people that have created healthcare services desperately needed for people in Gaza. I'm not showing their post because I don't want, YouTube gets all butthurt about graphic content. So I'm not going to show like the post because they post like them actually treating Palestinians. But this is an excellent organization that is doing work on the ground. Another one that I absolutely love, I encourage everybody to go to it, and donate to it and support it and follow them and amplify. Because again, guys, it's not just about giving money. You absolutely should if you can, but sharing is caring, bringing attention to them, following them, amplifying their content. Suleimani, I'm sorry, Sulani Animal Rescue is, hey, why is it telling me? Oh, okay. It just went back to following. I'm like, why is it telling me I'm not following them? I've been following them. Suleimani Healthcare is another excellent organization. You guys, they're doing the Lord's work over there. If you are a very sensitive dog lover like I am, and it's not just dogs, it's cats, it's horses, it's donkeys, all that kind of stuff. They are doing the Lord's work. And I feel like their organization has a special place in my heart, because I just want you guys to think about what selfless people they are, that a genocide is happening to them, to their people, to their children, to their grandmothers every single day in Gaza. And yet they are still putting resources and risking themselves to take care of animals, of helpless animals. Like the most vulnerable people on the planet right now, going out of their way to take care of even more vulnerable creatures. Those are the best, guys. Those are the best. That is the best of humanity right there. So please follow them, and Al-Mawasi Healthcare, that is helping Palestinians on the ground. And then if you also, and they need, what they need the money for, they are directly using it for supplies. Like Al-Mawasi Healthcare is using it to treat children that have had amputations with no anesthetic, right? Like they're getting medication and medical supplies to children. Suleimani Healthcare is getting medical supplies to treat animals. And I was heartbroken, you guys, because if any of you guys saw that video I made about 2 months ago when I first talked about this, and I fell in love with this little dog that had its ears cruelly cut off, and his name was Speed, and they rescued him, and he was so cute. He passed away because he got infected by a bug that bit him. So horrible. And then also, if you want to just personally donate to the GoFundMes that you know that have been verified, you want to be confident that they've been verified. If you go to my Instagram or my TikTok or my Linktree, I have a whole playlist called Operation Olive Branch, where I do specific GoFundMe campaigns for specific families that I have gotten to know. I know their GoFundMes are real. I know these people. I talk to them almost every single day. So you can go to any of theirs. I want to see, like, if you were to go to my profile and look at any of like the videos that I have, that, where is it? That are like this, that have like the GoFundMe in the title. Or like I said, if you go to my Linktree, there's a bunch of the GoFundMes are in my bio. Oh, why isn't it sharing it? Whoops, I didn't share my screen for this one. Sorry, guys. What? Yeah. Stop screen share. Settings. No. There we go. If you go to my Linktree, you can also see that I have some of the personal GoFundMe campaigns of people in my Linktree. Yeah. So thank you again, Paulina, for saying that. I know that it can be hard. There's definitely been some scams, but that's why it's good to verify, know who you're talking to. Also, sorry, one last thing, and then I will stop. Operation Olive Branch. I would also really encourage everybody to follow Operation Olive Branch. If you go to, let me go back. If you go to Instagram and you follow Operation Olive Branch, which please do, because they are doing amazing work, They're a decentralized group. I follow, look at this scam. I follow Operation Olive Branch and now it's saying follow. Holy shit. They're literally taking follows away from them. This is insane. Insane. Anyway, they are a decentralized organization of just people volunteering, trying to help people in Gaza. Now they're branching out to Sudan and to Congo. And if you want to learn more about what they do, you should follow them. You should also follow people like Zem. Zem is one of the main people who organizes Operation Olive Branch and has done a lot of work for them. Wow, them really out here just like unsubscribing from YouTube. Oh, embarrassing. I'm not even sharing the screen. Lol. Wait a second. Yes, I am. I was sharing it. Embarrassing. I'm so bad at this. Okay, but you see how all these popped up? They popped up because that is them who I was also following and they just made me unfollow. Okay, this is insane. I had to refollow Operation Olive Branch because they took me off of it. We see you, Instagram. Insanity. Anyway, go follow them. They're another excellent organization that is doing a lot of work for the Palestinians. And they also verify a lot of the GoFundMes. They're how I got a lot of the GoFundMes that I started fundraising for and got to know a family. And, you know, also, that's a great thing to do too. They encourage people because they are decentralized to just find families and make content for them. That's what I did. I'm not like in the organization, but I went to their spreadsheet and I just found people and then reached out to them and started getting to know them and then creating content for them. I love you too. I know, you guys. I was so heartbroken about Speed. I literally was in love with that dog. And it was so moving to me the way that they saved him and took care of him. And he was so cute. And he was like putzing around, jumping. And it was like, I honestly like, I couldn't handle it when they said that he had passed away. It really broke my heart. Okay. All right. So let's get into shit. We've already been almost a half an hour and I haven't even gotten to it. All right. Well, we were just hanging out, guys. We were just hanging out. Okay. So let's get to the video. We're going to do the Piers, but do you condemn Hamas Morgan video first? Let's share a new one. Share a screen. Is OOB from Turkey? No, they're actually mostly, from my understanding, how it was started and who mostly runs it are Americans. Deborah Messing blocked me on X. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Did I tell you guys that after I made my last video making fun of her, she put on her story, on her Facebook story, she told everybody to report it. Like all her loser followers, she like put it on her story, my video, and was like, go report them. And TikTok took it down because that's what they do. They're such cry bullies. They really are such cry bullies. Same with Michael Rappaport. Always crying about my videos. Always crying about my videos. Sorry, the truth hurts. It wouldn't need to if you weren't a psycho, but you know. Okay, so let's get into this. As far as I am aware, they're going to be debating anti-Semitism, I think, but I don't know. We'll see. Also, guys, if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube before we start this, please do. It's obviously, if you're watching it on YouTube, it's I Am Blakely. If you're not already, because it's also click the bell, because I have had multiple people tell me that they don't get the notifications when I'm live. And I think if you click the bell, it should give you the notification for when I'm live. Also, become a member if you can. Become a member on my Ko-Fi if you can. And yeah, send super chats during this live if you are able to. I appreciate the super chat I already got from Old Boney Bird. It is your support that helps me be able to do what I do, which is apparently being a shill for the Democratic Party, but also at the same time, Hamas. It's a tough act. It's a tough job, honestly.
Directly to you, Rabbi Schmuley.
You have the Jewish community beginning to call.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are.
Yeah. No, we're not watching this at 1 speed. We're watching it at least at 1.25. Actually, what does it sound like at 1.5? Could we do 1.5?
Are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Schmuley.
You have the Jewish community beginning to call her not Candace Owens, but Candace Owens.
People can see and hear evil, and what you are doing right now is an act of evil. We all recognize that Rabbi Schmuley is unhinged.
Candace Owens never met Michael Jackson. I was a rabbi for 2 years. She said that I killed him, that she would say the Jews killed Michael Jackson. You never said that I threatened to murder you?
No, I never said that you threatened to murder me. Don't cut me off. I did not cut you off.
Now she's fact-checking it? You're kidding me, right? I don't have a computer on me.
The Israeli Defense Force had dropped more bombs on Gaza than were dropped on Dresden. That is true. You accept that, Rabbi Schmuley?
You know, Pierce, I find this an astonishing debate.
You asked?
First of all, I don't. Wait. What do you mean it's true? Because she said it's true?
All right. You guys, just give me like a heads up. Can you hear it? And also, is that too fast? You want me to slow it down a little? Okay, I'll put it at 1.25. Yeah, more of you guys are saying it's too fast.
The war in Gaza is barreling towards a grim anniversary.
The war, Lamau, you mean the genocide.
This deadly year, sparked by a terrorist atrocity and met with an often merciless response, has changed the way that many people think about an historic dispute. Never in our lifetimes has there been such active debate about Israel's role in the modern world and whether the United States and its allies should back it. Protests and counter-protests have brought anti-Semitism to the fore, along with the charge that it sometimes insulates Israel from criticism. My next two guests have vivid opinions on these big issues and have had a very public feud. We're bringing them together for what we intend, I hope, to be a proper debate. The topics will be the Israel-Hamas war, anti-Semitism in public life, American involvement in Israel, and Israeli involvement in the United States. And we'll even talk about Michael Jackson, who is relevant to this debate. Both guests will get roughly equal speaking time and a chance to question each other. Speaking of, the other guest is not encouraged. Ad hominem attacks are strongly discouraged. But knowing these two...
Oh, get out of here, Piers Morgan. You love the ad hominem attacks, okay? This is the reason why Piers Morgan's show kind of blew up. Piers Morgan has been around for a long time and has had various times of success, but his show recently is really blown up on YouTube. And part of that is because he's one of the few channels that can get both, opposing sides to come on and actually debate and call each other names. And it's entertaining to people. I don't mind the ad hominem attacks. What I mind is when they do scream over each other for too long, because then you can't hear it. That annoys me. He needs to shut. It's usually the Zionist doing it, screaming over the person on the anti-genocide side so that you can't even hear what they're saying. That annoys me. And then Piers will just sit there and not moderate it. So anyway, whatever. Moving on.
As I do, I can make no promises. Returning to Uncensored, host of the Candace podcast, Candace Owens, and the author of the Israel Warrior and the Michael Jackson tapes, Rabbi Schmuley. So welcome to both of you. First of all, it's great you're doing this. You've had a public feud for couple of years now. You've torn into each other in various forums. This is your chance to take each other on. And at the center of this, as I said in the intro there, is a very serious global story, which is the Israel-Hamas war and all the complexities that come away from that. I want to give you both the chance to make an opening statement. So Rabbi Schmuley, you won the toss. We didn't really actually toss, but you both agreed you can do this. You go first. Your opening remarks.
Thank you, Piers, for having me. And Candace, thank you for debating me. I have spent my life bringing together the Black and Jewish communities, emphasizing that we share not only a history of shared persecution, but of spiritual promise. Today, we debate an American tragedy, a woman of unique eloquence who has abused that eloquence to become simultaneously the foremost anti-Black rhetorician in all of the United States and the foremost anti-Semite in America. The statements that Candace has made against her own community, that they cry wolf and constantly say that they're victims of racism. Her attacks on George Floyd, a man who was suffocated to death for a $20 counterfeit note saying that he was a horrible human being. A woman who went up in front of CPAC and said, I was never a slave in America, as if that's the only form of discrimination, is what has led her community to call her not Candace, but Clandis. The first ever female Black woman who appears in her rhetoric against Blacks, calling LeBron James dumb and stupid, and an icon to the Black community, as Clandis. Simultaneously, you have the Jewish community beginning to call her not Candace Owens, but Candace Ovens, because her Goebbels-style rhetoric against Jews, that Jews are nearly all pedophiles. The State of Israel has set up a Theodor Herzl, a pedophile, as a haven for pedophiles, that Judaism is a demonic, satanic cult that only protects pedophiles. And by the way, her absolute obsession with Jewish sexuality and Jewish genitalia, the first lady of France, Brigitte Macron's genitalia, is disturbing. It's one of the reasons I think she hates Sigmund Freud so much, because she's a Freudian field dream in terms of his arguments that the greater the sexual suppression and repression, the greater we see violence. But when you say that the Jews killed JFK because he was about to ostracize Israel, when you invent all of these fabrications out of whole cloth, what is the result? The result is the demonization of Jews that leads to violence. Pierce, just 1 week ago, 2 days after Candace falsely accused me, as she has for 2 years, of being a murderer, of threatening to kill her, something for which she will face legal action, because you cannot malign a rabbi and his daughter as murderers. 2 days later, I was swatted in my house, where 5 police cars had to break into my house because Mayor Michael Wilds of Englewood, New Jersey, received an email, arguably from one of Candace's followers, after she said essentially what Henry II says, who will rid me of this troublesome priest, which leads directly to the murder of Thomas Becket, who today is a Catholic saint, of course. We were swatted, and the FBI is now investigating Candace's rhetoric. They're investigating
Rabbi Schmuley, I'm interrupting because
you've now been speaking for 3 minutes. One final point.
So
yeah, seriously, he has.
Candace will get exactly the same amount of time. It's up to you, but it's an opening statement, right? And what I would say,
may I just say finally, if I may?
Well, if it's quick,
the biggest issue I have with Candace, to be honest, is that she claims to be a Christian. Candace, didn't Jesus say you're supposed to love your enemies? Is the love you show me that you call me filth twice on the last show that you did with Pierce a piece of filth? You're supposed to love your enemies. Is that turning the other cheek? And Pierce, you're an English gentleman. I've known you for many years. You allowed her to say that without even a piece of filth. When Jesus said that you're supposed to turn the other cheek, where have you ever turned the other cheek? When Jesus said that the meek shall inherit the earth, the arrogance, the nonstop attack against Jews,
Okay, so it's true that Candace Owens will oftentimes be like, oh, it's about being Christian. It's about being Christian. And then we'll say deranged shit. Yeah, that is embarrassing. However, you're a rabbi and you defend the genocide of the Palestinians. So pot calling kettle black. I kicked him out. Thanks for flagging that. I kicked him out. Yeah. Yeah. Their comments were removed too. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you flagging that, because I don't want actual Nazis, white supremacists, anti-Semitic people, like for real anti-Semitic, not Rabbi Schmuley's version, which is everything I don't like, and everybody that criticizes the genocidal Israeli regime is anti-Semitic. But yeah, there are actually anti-Semitic people in the world, obviously, that will say deranged shit. And if you're coming in here to just say, I am anti-Zionist, okay, I am anti-Zionist, I am not anti-Semitic, and I do condemn anti-Semitism. Like, to me, that's obvious. And if you say anti-Semitic shit, like, then I'm going to kick you out of the chat. But again, anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. So that's why I get so annoyed, because usually it's people with their crocodile tears crying about fake instances of anti-Semitism because they saw somebody wearing a keffiyeh. Yeah, it's just funny seeing like Rabbi Schmuley talk about how Candace Owens isn't being very Christian, when it's like, I'm sorry, you're a rabbi and you're literally defending the annihilation of children and the entire Palestinian people. Be so for real.
Demonization. If you are a Christian, then I am the second coming of Christ.
Okay, that's 4 minutes you've spoken to. And out of fairness, Candace, if you want to use 4 minutes to respond, you can. All I would note, Rabbi Schmuley, is you've spent 4 minutes personally attacking Candace Owens. I set this up as a debate about what is happening with the Israel-Hamas war, anti-Semitism, and so on and so on. You've turned it all completely, immediately, into an ad hominem onslaught against Candace.
How could you possibly say that? You are speaking to a woman who says the Jews are a ring of demonic pedophiles, and you're saying that I have no right to defend my people. You know, Pierce, you have to stop this once and for all. There was nothing ad hominem at all.
Right.
When Candace says the black community
you've had your say.
is a bunch of crybabies,
okay.
Everything I said was policy. I could not disagree more.
Candace will now get the same amount of time as you wanted, Candace, to respond.
Thank you, Piers. And I don't think I really do need to respond to the ad hominem attacks. I think actually one of the things that plausibly unites people across all religions, Muslims, Jews, Christians, is that we all recognize that Rabbi Schmuley is unhinged. He's just mentally, in my view, unwell. And I don't say that as an attack. I say that as just a reality, because I've never seen someone just make things up out of thin air that were never said, and trying to screen that as a defense of Black people. The Black people will never accept Rabbi Schmuley after Michael Jackson put him on a list of people who he felt were ruining his life. So you can stop your pleas with Black America. They won't work. Now, going back to the context of what you've asked us to speak about today, you know, I think one of the things that the world is recognizing, and what we've always recognized, is that there are radical fringe sects that break out within every single religion, amongst every race. There's white supremacy, there's Black supremacy, there's radical Islam, there are all of these Christ cults around the world. And I think right now it's important for people to understand that radical Judaism is also a thing. And you're watching an example of it right now on your screen. The person sitting across from me, or sitting next to me, I guess, posted on his Facebook page in 2016 a tribute to someone who he said was his mentor. That was Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. He said he was his mentor and his friend.
Yeah, that's true. There are radical sects of every religion. Like, people acting like that's not a thing is insane. Some of the settlers in the Israeli regime are some of the most psychotic religious fanatics. Like, a lot of the videos we see of the religious fanatics saying genocidal shit in the Israeli regime, they're like religious zealots. They're lunatics. And yes, that should be called out. We shouldn't accept radical, deranged cult sect religions or expressions of them from any religion. Like, to me, file that under duh. But for a lot of people, it's like they get very defensive when it comes to their own religion.
Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Rabbi Schneerson, there were some Jews who believed that he was and is the Messiah. So rejecting Christ, but believing that that rabbi was his Messiah. Now, you may remember in the news recently, there was this radicalized faction of the Lubavitch Orthodox community in Brooklyn that were digging tunnels in Brooklyn and hurling benches at police officers. Well, and by the way, this is per the Times of Israel, that faction of individuals.
Somebody just mentioned Boomer Maher, Bill Maher, and like, yeah, Bill Maher is so embarrassing. He always Bill Maher is like fully right wing at this point. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it. I don't want to get too distracted, but like, I think it was when he was interviewing Caitlin Collins from CNN, and his complaint, his gripe was that they're not right wing enough. Not that they're corporate hacks, not that they do the bidding of the establishment. Not that they're overly sensational, not that they don't criticize elites or corporate power. No, his criticism was that they weren't right wing enough and didn't have enough Republicans on their panel. Bill Maher is what happens when you spend too much time in only surrounded by rich people. But anyway, I digress.
individuals are followers of Rabbi Schneerson. So again, you have Rabbi Schmuley who believes that that's his mentor. They believe that he was the Messiah. What is it? It becomes important to understand, what did Rabbi Schneerson preach? Well, he preached Jewish supremacism, the hatred of all non-Jews. And you don't have to take my word for it, because if I said it, they would say that's anti-Semitism. You should instead take the word of the two Jewish professors who translated his work. Those authors' names were Israel Shahak and Norin Mezvinsky. And their book was entitled Jewish Fundamentalism in Israel. From that book, we learned that Shmuley's mentor, Schneerson, describes the difference between a Jew and a non-Jew. And he says, quote, "Thus, we do not have a case of profound change in which a person is merely on a superior level. The body of a Jewish person is of totally different quality from the body of all nations of the world." And he talks about the substance of the Jewish body versus the substance of non-Jews, saying that the inner quality, quote, is so different and so great that the body should be considered completely different species. So that is a belief. And you can go through his speeches and you will see that he continually talks about how non-Jews should be treated, and that, again, we are a different species. This is what Rabbi Schmuley believes in. We have to come to terms with the fact that there are Jewish radicals, and it's incumbent upon the Jewish community to call them out. I'm glad that you brought up my rhetoric about Black Lives Matter, the organization, and which was basically allowing Black criminals to take to the street to burn down, to loot, and to riot in the name of racism, because it shows that I'm on equal footing here, that across the board, I do not support supremacism, whether it's coming from my community or whether or not it is coming from yours. And I think the entire world is now paying attention and wondering, what is going on in Israel? What is this government? Is this a radical fringe government? And many people are concluding that the answer to that question is yes.
Okay, those are the two opening statements. Rabbi Schmuley, let me ask you this. Where are we now with this war? Because it seems that the people inside Israel are now beginning to come after Prime Minister Netanyahu, angry that his mission to save the hostages is simply not working. We saw 6 more executed at the weekend. Obviously, that's on Hamas. But the relatives of other hostages are saying, for God's sake, bring back the hostages before it's too late. And there's no sign of any deal being done to do that. And there's a lot of pressure on Netanyahu. Is his mission statement failing?
Yes, I will answer that in just a moment. But Pierre, your guest just called me mentally.
I like how he's like, oh, yeah. I'll answer that in a moment. Will you, though? Will you?
Unhinged. She called me filth twice on your show. You did not just say to her,
bro,
Candace, can you stop the ad hominem attacks? Did I ever say anything? I stuck to policy. Can you at least just be fair and say that's unnecessary, Candace, or is just
no,
is this too against
law?
No. He started out attacking her personally. So you don't get to attack someone personally and then cry and whine that they attacked you personally back. That's not how it works.
Spent 4 minutes lacerating her.
Calling me mentally unhinged, is that
you're sitting there to defend that charge?
Is that ad hominem?
Yeah, right.
4 minutes attacking her personally. She's perfectly entitled
Pierce,
to
with all due respect, when one of your guests calls someone else filth, I think that you as an English gentleman should step in. But let me answer your question. No less, the only thing of Christ that Candace Owens has actually fulfilled comes from Matthew chapter 10, verse 35, where Jesus says, I've come to separate and create conflict between a woman and her mother-in-law and father-in-law. My answer to your question about Gaza is that Lord Michael Farmer, a courageous British peer who happens to be Candace Owens' father-in-law, issued one of the most robust and beautiful defenses of Israel that any of us have read since October 7th. He said that, of course, there's a lot of terrible Palestinian casualties. God loves every Palestinian child as much as he loves a Jewish child. He said that Israel has no choice but to fight this war because Hamas hides in residential areas and under nurseries.
Gosh,
he said that Israel, the savagery of October 7th.
This is so tired. Look what you made me do. Israel had no choice but to kill all those babies. The Israeli regime had no choice but to continue this genocide because they hide behind human shields. Even though, as we know, every accusation is a confession. It's actually them that hide behind human shields. Like literally everything they say is what they do. Everything they accuse the Palestinians of doing is what they do. They're the ones who use human shields. They're the ones that destroy historic infrastructure. Like everything. We are fully almost 11 months. Literally, almost 11 months. It's the 5th. The 7th is in 2 days. We're almost 11 months into this genocide, and they are still using these talking points. Bro, Come up with a new talking point. But Hamas, the human shield, they have a right to defend themselves. They have no choice but to kill all their children. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Come up with new talking points, bro. Also, you have to be a sick fuck to say that Israel had no choice but to go in and massacre a bunch of children and women and grandmothers that are stuck in an open air concentration camp and have no way to escape. Also, that really doesn't work when we've seen the videos. Okay? We've seen the videos, we've seen the TikToks. You guys are proud of what you're doing. You're proud. And as we'll go over later, because we're going to go over the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast, they're happy about this. They think it's funny. They think it's based that Palestinians are getting massacred. So the whole, we're just, we don't really want to kill all those Palestinians that we just have to, because of Hamas. That is belied by the facts that Israeli citizens themselves say. That is belied by the TikToks and the Instagram videos and the interviews on Israeli media where they come out and take their mask off, the rapists, and brag about how they think that rape is acceptable in their society as long as it's a Palestinian. Yeah, I'm sorry. This doesn't work anymore, bro. This does not work.
Demands a response. He said that Israel is doing exactly the right thing. And he said that he's doing all this in response to a, quote, high-profile member of his family. The contempt to not even...
Thank you, May. That is correct. I do use they, them pronouns. I am not she. I don't know if you guys... Speaking of that, did you guys see the Zionists attacking me for being non-binary earlier today on Twitter? Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. Anyway, no worries, Pray Day. I don't get upset if people do it on accident. I get upset when people act like lunatics like the Zionists do and do it on purpose and then turn around and go, oh, really? They'd throw you off a roof if you were in Gaza. Because unlike Gaza, we in the Israeli regime respect the LGBTQ plus community, but then not really, because then they'll attack me for it all the time. Every accusation is a confession, as we know.
Mention his daughter-in-law, Candace Owens, because he didn't want to say her name. And he didn't even say, I love my daughter-in-law, but because the British remember Hitler, they remember the Battle of Britain, they remember the V1 and V2 rockets. Candace Owens has actually now said that the Nazis were the good guys and it was the allies, the British, people like yourself, Pierce, who engaged in the ethnic cleansing of 12 million people based on some documentary she watched called The Savage Beast on the BBC, which wasn't even about the Allies. She always distorts. It was about the Czechoslovakia, a country that no longer even exists. And as far as what she said about Michael Jackson putting an enemies list, that is a total fabrication. It was invented.
This is ridiculous. First of all, like, I am so... Okay. I'm not even getting into like the adjudication of Michael Jackson, who he is, how he, no, not right now. Not right now, at least. Yes, that is true that they're also lying when they say that the goal is to eradicate Hamas, because actually the resistance has been growing in its ranks since all of this started, because of fucking course. When somebody, annihilates your whole family, you tend to, not be huge fans of theirs and probably want to join groups to help fight back. Okay, so there's that. And then also that was never Netanyahu's plan to begin with. And they just admit that out loud now. It's not about that. They want to turn Gaza into condos for tourists is what they want, because Gaza has a beautiful beach.
By someone named Dieter Wietzner, who sued Michael Jackson for $64 million, tried to shake him down, and Michael had to pay him $4 million. I worked to save Michael's life. Candace Owens never met Michael Jackson. I was his rabbi for 2 years. I love him. I missed him. I tried to get him off of drugs. She said that I killed him, and talk about the contempt for people struggling with addiction, that she would say the Jews killed Michael Jackson. And with all due respect, Pierce, you have not said that one of those things, that I'm a murderer, a man who doesn't have a...
I just want to point out again what he did, conflating himself with all Jews. They do that all the time so that you can't criticize them or criticize Zionists or Zionism. They'll say, oh, you criticizing me, Rabbi Schmuley, is criticizing all Jews. No. No.
A speeding ticket, who doesn't have a parking ticket, is a murderer, and the police have to come and the FBI to protect me. Are you going to say?
I'm going to say to you, Rabbi Schmuley.
Sorry, this is a side note rant, but like I hate when people say, oh, how could I be a murderer? I've never even had a speeding ticket. They're not capable of that. They've never even had a parking ticket. You guys, does anyone not watch true crime shows like Dateline or some shit? Like whenever you watch that, most of the time, people who kill people don't have criminal records. Like 9 times out of 10, they don't have criminal records. It's usually the spouse. That's why I always say, guys, if anything were to ever happen to me, the first place I would want you all to look is at my ex-husband.
Once again, you've just singularly failed to answer my question. So if you're just going to continue every time I ask you a question about the war, which is the point of the debate, to just launch into Candace or her family or whatever, that's your decision. But in the interest of fairness, every time you speak for 3-4 minutes, hang on, I'm now going to let Candace respond if you want to, Candace. Look, it is obviously a matter of public record that your father-in-law, Lord Farmer, did post on X what he posted. He concluded by saying, I point out I'm the Christian deputy chair of the Council for Christians and Jews. This was founded in 1942 as a bulwark against anti-Semitism. I mean, do you want to say anything about what your father-in-law posted or anything else that Rabbi Schmuley just said?
Yeah, I'm grateful that he brought that up, and because it's very disturbing to me to see him try to pretend that my father-in-law distanced from me or said something in favor of anything that Rabbi Schmuley is saying. He would never do that. It is very important to understand that, you know, he does support Israel, and he has reaffirmed his support for Israel. And you can imagine that within any family, you have disagreements about things, but fundamentally, it's all love, you know, and it's good for us to have these conversations prior to him posting.
Obviously, she can't do anything about what her father-in-law thinks, but her father-in-law is a Zionist hack, just so we're clear, running a Zionist hack organization. So yeah, let's just not get that twisted.
The statement, I had just gotten back from vacation with him literally 48 hours earlier. There was something incredibly demonic about a person trying to use the Bible at the beginning of a statement, as he did, trying to quote scripture and immediately following it up by trying to pull a family apart. I mean, that is utterly unholy. And I think the question of holiness and what is holy is relevant to this discussion. I think this is a conversation that a lot of people are having as well. Look, prior to October 7th, I don't think many people were engaged with what is happening in Israel. You know, we kind of all said the same thing. Israel is our friend and ally. I count myself among those people. Post October 7th, the world, and especially
see, again, two things can kind of be true at the same time. That, like, it is true that the whole world did start to wake up about what was really going on in the Israeli regime after October 7th. But what she just said about like holiness and being a Christian and stuff is highly manipulative, because when did you ever see I'm sorry, Candace Owens opposes everything that would actually be like, as far as policy wise, things that Jesus would be for. Immigration, like Jesus talks about the immigrant a lot. Republicans despise immigration and immigrants, helping poor people, helping children, helping the sick, any policy that would actually like help in our country, poor people or the marginalized or people that Jesus talked about, she opposes fully, but then is like, oh, that's unholy. Like, be so for real.
I would say Zionists in media were demanding that we all pay attention. And when we began to pay attention, we didn't like what we saw. You cannot tell me to ever feel.
As a person who is a Christian, okay, I absolutely reject the kind of Christianity that Candace Owens is pushing. What she is pushing is American Christianity, American, Jesus, Republican Jesus, nationalism. That's what she's doing. She is not pushing the gospel. Just so we're clear.
Feel comfortable with 18,000 children being ruthlessly murdered. You can't get me to feel comfortable as a Christian with the amount of more explosives dropped, tons of explosives dropped on Gaza than were dropped in Hiroshima. This doesn't make sense to me. Gaza is 30 miles long, 7 miles wide. It's incredibly dense population. And this is, by the way, according to Haaretz, that 40,000 Palestinians have been murdered.
It's way more than that. It's way more than 40,000. It's closer to 200,000. And it's crazy that there have been more bombs, like more intensity dropped on Gaza than in Hiroshima and Dresden. When the Gaza Strip is so small, it's so small, and there's so many people on it. It's just insane. It really is mind blowing when you think about it.
I believe they're getting those numbers from the Gaza Health Ministry. And
How
here's
much
what I would like to say to you,
ministry?
Rabbi, since you're quoting scripture, okay? The one that's relevant to me is, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And if you'd like to dive into a little more scripture, I think what's relevant is Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Schmuley. The fact that you would try to say, I am Jewish, and this is what I believe, and do and say the things that you are doing. People can see and hear evil, and what you are doing right now is an act of evil. The lies that you are telling, not just—
I mean, Rabbi Schmuley is a psychotic liar, but also anybody can take some scripture and throw it at someone. I have a bunch of scripture that goes against exactly the kind of shit that Candace Owens advocates for on a daily basis that I could also throw at her. So
just on me, but also on my family members, are a good example for the world to see what we are referring to when we call something radical Zionism.
Okay, Rabbi Schmuley.
Okay, and okay, thank you. And of course, Piers, there was nothing.
Zionism is a radical ideology in and of itself. I feel like radical Zionism is redundant. Like, it's just redundant. Zionism as an ideology is a radical and violent ideology.
About had it might be being demonic. This is a 2 against 1 debate. I expected that.
It's not a 2 against 1 debate.
And I will, excuse me, no, it's a 2 against 1
You've
debate.
made no attempt to answer my question.
No, Piers,
Candace
let me speak.
has been trying to answer my question.
Candace just said,
you're not.
Candace just said, Candace, filth, demonic. There's nothing ad hominem about that. You are correct. You're right, Piers. Candace Owens just said that Israel dropped more bombs on Gaza than on Hiroshima. Hiroshima was an atomic bomb, Candace. You know, why don't you just read Wikipedia? Israel has nuclear weapons. They've never used them, so I have no idea what you're talking about. Now, let's look at Israel's justified defense. Israel admits, and even Hamas admits, to a 1-to-1 civilian to combatant ratio of civilian casualties, which is a tragedy. It shouldn't even be 1. But remember, Hamas fires their rockets from nurseries. The United States and Afghanistan had a 4-to-1 ratio of civilians murdered for every 1 combatant. In the Korean War, it was 5-to-1.
Equivalencies that they come up with is really insane. It took me a little while to understand this because I had the same view that I think Candace Owens was correct in pointing out about the Israeli regime before October 7th. But like, they always try to make it like it's equal, like the way that the Israelis and the power that they have and the weapons that they have and the technology and the backing from Western countries, especially the United States, have is somehow equivalent to a bunch of orphans that fire homemade rockets. Like, give me a fucking break. There is no equivalence here.
In Iraq, it was at least 2-to-1. Israel has the lowest per capita ratio of combatants to
That's
civilians.
not true.
Candace should acknowledge that. That is what we call a fact.
But you should hang on. You should also acknowledge then that there is a unique demographic in Gaza where of the 2 million people who live there, half of them are under 18. So that's a very...
Somebody from the Twitch, in the Twitch comments said, hello, fellow Jew. I am not Jewish, just to be clear. Some people do think that I am Jewish. I don't know. I've had that a few times. I am not Jewish. Just to be clear, I am a white American. Ethnically, I'm actually Irish. But yeah, I'm not Jewish. I'm also non-binary, guys. So they, them pronouns, please.
Different demographic to any of the other scenarios you're talking about. That is what's caused so much international opprobrium against Israel, is the fact that so many children, pro rata in the civilian death count, have been killed. It's that people are so exercised about, and rightly, because what's happened here is obvious. Hamas, yes, they've embedded themselves in civilian territory. Yes, they built all these tunnels. None of these things are to be disputed.
Embedded themselves in civilian territory, otherwise known as they live there. They live there. Where do you expect them to go? No, really, ask yourself that when they say the Hamas embeds themselves in civilian territory. As we just already talked about a second ago, the Gaza Strip is a tiny, tiny little strip of land that is surrounded by the Israeli regime's military. They're an open-air concentration camp. They cannot leave. They don't have a military. They don't have an army. They don't have a navy. Where do you think they're going to fight from?
But the problem with going after Hamas in the way that Israel has been doing is that the collateral damage, as they would put it, to so many thousands of children has now tested the patience of the world to a degree that vast quantities of the world are against it and want this to stop. That's the reality.
I think that's a very fair question. You know, and I don't like whataboutism. But Candace Owens never spoke out.
You love whataboutism. You always do whataboutism. Man with the long last name. I figured that maybe they were from Sabby's audience. No, I don't think I got anybody coming over here from Sabby's audience, because at least the vibe that I got and the comments that I got were people who did not like me. That was the vibe that I got from a lot of the comments, was that her audience did not like me. So I don't know why they would be here.
Once against Bashar al-Assad, who killed 600,000 Arabs, and he actually gassed to death children. He targeted them with mustard and poison gas. You remember that President Obama said that's a red line, and then he gave it to Putin to get rid of those weapons. God bless President Trump, who actually wait, just a second. President Trump, God bless him, actually fired 59 cruise missiles when Assad did that. It's funny because people say that President Trump is anti-Muslim. He's the only one who protected Muslim life. Pierce, Hamas has ruled since 2006. They won an election jointly with the PA. They took the Palestinian Authority representatives and threw them off of rooftops. They then subjected the Palestinians, 1.5 million Palestinians of Gaza, to the most ruthless persecution that we've ever seen. They stole all their money. Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Tehran, is worth $4 billion. Now he's fighting with Erdogan, his kids, over who's going to inherit that. Khalid Mashal is worth $3 billion. You and I both know that the Palestinians of Gaza got triple the amount per capita, prorated for our times, of the Marshall Plan. All of that money was stolen to build tunnels. There isn't one bomb shelter. The reason why people are dying in Gaza is because that money was used to buy penthouses and go up the There isn't one bomb shelter from Hamas. Hamas shoots and murders anyone who challenges their authority. They were elected in 2006 to a 4-year term. It's now 20 years later. Hamas specifically, and that's why they're being condemned by the Palestinians right now. They want Palestinian children to die, because the more they die, the more you will condemn them.
I don't know why this talking point keeps coming up, saying that the Palestinian people are like against Hamas or like condemning the resistance, because actually they're not. And why should they? And why should they? Why should they? I talk to a lot of Palestinians that are living in Gaza, a lot of them that I've been doing fundraising for, that I've gotten to know, and they support the resistance. So he's just lying. You know what he's doing? He's doing this because he is trying to defend the Israeli regime's genocide in Gaza. But he's doing more of the old school Zionist line, where he's pretending to care about civilians and not the fighters, when actually he's a little outdated. Because actually, from what I've seen, most Zionists and Israelis openly support the genocide and openly support what Netanyahu is doing to the Palestinians, openly support ethnic cleansing them off their land and stealing it, and openly support just completely expelling them from the country. So he's a little outdated. He's doing the thing that like a lot of Westerners would do before, where they would like pretend to care about the civilians and only condemn Hamas. But most of them have Fuwacha. Yeah, I see your comments. Usually I see the comments, in case anybody is wondering, that come up first in I use a software to stream on multiple platforms. The comments that I always see first are the members, people who are members on YouTube, and people who send super chats. Those comments will come up first, and then the other comments will come up behind them. So yeah, I do see your comments. Anyway, but yeah, he's doing that kind of outdated thing of like people pretending that they care about the civilians and that they separate the civilians from the militants, but most of them don't. Like, we're kind of past that. That's very like 2018, I guess. Like, most of them are just outright saying that they don't care if every Palestinian is wiped off the face of the earth. They actually want it that way. Because I write something and it doesn't appear. That's really weird. Unless it's the platform suppressing it, I see what I am mostly seeing what you're writing here.
And Israel. But let's remember, Pierce, your parents are part of the greatest generation. Winston Churchill was told by the Americans, don't German cities, Hamburg, Dresden, etc.
He's so annoying. Rabbi Schmuley is so annoying. He keeps trying to like pander or like appeal to him by like, and you're an English gentleman, Piers. Your parents were war heroes. You love Churchill, don't you? Like, just make your point. Stop kissing his ass.
At night, you can't see what you're bombing. Do what we Americans have, which is precision daytime bombing.
Exactly.
And Churchill said, no, my pilots are more important. We need the RAF.
All right.
And he flattened German cities. And he is considered today the greatest British statesman of the 20th century.
By the way, the flattening.
Cool story. Just because we consider Winston Churchill the greatest or whatever, like in these countries, doesn't mean that it wasn't absolutely deranged and genocidal that they dropped bombs on Dresden. Like, they love using that as if that's a debate ender. Yeah, well, we killed a lot of Germans. That's not the win that you think it is.
Of cities like Dresden was widely condemned at the time, including by many people in Britain, and led to the establishment of the Geneva Convention.
Dresden was the last month of the war, but before that, Hamburg and everything else was not condemned.
It led to the establishment of the Geneva Convention after World War II, specifically to stop that kind of thing happening again. I'm glad you raised that example. Candace, you've got over 3 minutes.
So do you condemn Winston Churchill as a war criminal for Dresden?
No, absolutely not. No.
Why not? You just said that it was wrong.
I was going to.
Why not? Because he's Western and powerful and white. That's why. That's why. Because we pick and choose who we condemn and pick and choose who we designate as terrorist organizations. And if they're in the West and they're white, well, then they're just defending themselves. If they're brown and they're in the Middle East and they're Arab, and especially if they're Muslim, well, obviously they're terrorists.
As a war criminal for Dresden. Well, please, you said not, but why?
If you're both going to answer the same question, let me be clear. Winston Churchill was not a war criminal, right? But some of the ways that
why not? He bombed Dresden and killed 25,000 people.
Yeah, he also saved the world from Adolf Hitler and the Nazis.
Oh, he saved the world. So Israel's saving the Middle East from Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Iran.
But it's not
Hezbollah.
Israel's not doing that.
Thank you for answering my question. Well, case closed.
All right, let me go to...
Oh my God! If I could just interject here. Case closed! Did you guys hear that? Oh my gosh. I have to run that back. That was insane. Israel is saving the world, saving the Middle East. Look at how deranged he looks. Look at just like how deranged he looks. Like for real, for real. Israel is saving the Middle East from Hamas and from Hezbollah and from the Houthis. Actually, in real life, Israel is dragging us in closer and closer into World War III. Actually. What's actually happening? First of all, you're not saving shit. You're literally not saving shit. You are making everything worse. You have set the Middle East on fire, literally and figuratively. You're bombing Lebanon nonstop. You're assassinating people in sovereign nations like Iran, like they did to Ismail Haniyeh. You're saving the Middle East? Insanity. What they are doing is escalating, attacking, dragging everybody in the Middle East and soon in the United States into a full-blown third world war. That is what they are doing. The Israeli regime, as it's constructed right now, is so fucking dangerous to the entire world. And he says they're saving the Middle East? Deranged. Absolutely deranged.
Saving the Middle East from Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Iran.
But it's not, though.
Hezbollah.
Israel's not doing that.
Thank you for answering my question.
Well,
case closed.
All right, let me go to Candace.
If I could just interject here, just to respond to that, I was going to say exactly what you said, Piers. Like, Dresden was considered a Holocaust. It was, in fact, a war crime. And there should be debates about what happened in Dresden. It was absolutely horrific that a bunch of Christians were skipping off, on the eve of Ash Wednesday. And then they were quite literally reduced to ashes. It is wrong. And the fact that you are having to reference a war crime to justify what's happening in Gaza is not a point for you. It's completely awful. When people say, oh, well, look at what we did, look at all these other horrific things we did, why do you care about this horrible thing that's happening? I don't even understand that logic. It's completely ridiculous. Look, there is no person in good conscience who should be comfortable with the amount of death that's happening in Gaza.
I mean, she's not wrong about that. The fact that they think it's a win, that they have to compare it to Dresden, which was horrible and was a war crime. And also, those of us who are speaking out about it now, I wasn't alive during Dresden, okay? And neither were you, and neither was Rabbi Schmuley. So, like, yeah, do we wish that things may have been different back then? No, but they weren't. And it is what it is, and that's history. And the goal should be to change moving forward. So stop using past war crimes as a justification for current war crimes. It's not a win. Norma J, thank you so much for the super chat. I mean it. I'm very serious. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. I always say your super chats, and whether it's a super chat or not, whether it's a super chat, joining my Ko-Fi as a monthly patron, or just donating to my Venmo, I appreciate it so much because you guys enable me to be able to do the kind of content creation that I do. So I love you and thank you. The work you do is super important and brave. Well, thank you so much, because it's because of you guys supporting me and doing things like supporting me and sending me super chats or supporting me on Ko-Fi that make it so that I can. Because not only is it hard work, but I also get attacked a lot. So like even having you guys like subscribe and support my work, it helps a lot because I get attacked a lot by Zionists, and it takes me a lot of time and effort to put all this together and stuff. So it's like, it's because of your support that I'm even able to do it. So I appreciate that so much. I grew up Muslim with white skin in the South. My sister was a Clinton intern the year before Lewinsky. We've been protesting, NGOing, the whole lot, but I'm tired. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Because you're right, before this happened, and this is part of the reason, Norma J, why I talk about this so much, is because so much of us didn't even know like what was really happening there, and the propaganda that we would hear from the Israeli lobby, we believed. I really believed when I would hear people say that if you criticized Israel, that you were anti-Semitic. I thought that was true. And now it's like embarrassing that I thought that. People would say BDS was anti-Semitic. And I thought, oh yeah, it must be. Embarrassing that I thought that. I used to think the ADL was a serious organization. Embarrassing that I used to think that. But thankfully, many of us have woken up after October 7th. Many of us have. And it has completely changed the way that we view the world and view what is happening, view the Israeli regime, view the Palestinian plight, and have educated ourselves. And part of the reason why, and I think I told Sabby this when I was on her podcast the other day, that one of the reasons people that I make this content for is other white Americans, because obviously if I'm speaking to people who are Muslim or Arab in my chat, or people a part of marginalized communities or allies of the Palestinians, like many Black people have been from the jump. Obviously, I don't need to educate them. I don't need to tell you guys anything. You're already fully aware. My content is mostly aimed at trying to get other people who are like me, who were uneducated white Americans and white people in the West that really didn't know, to also wake up, because people help me wake up. So I want to help other people wake up too, because this is the truth, and the truth is important. The truth is always going to be important. And I get help from the Israeli regime because honestly, no one has done more damage to their reputation than them. Let's be real. Thank you, Nimit, sorry if I butchered that, Maine, for the super chat. Now they want to take my mom's village in the, oh my gosh, yes. Namit, I don't know if you saw, I did do a video about that. My last live, we talked a lot about what was happening in the occupied West Bank and the attack on people in the West Bank, that the Israeli regime has really upped its attacks on the occupied West Bank. They've upped their raids. They're violently taking even more Palestinians' land. They've killed a bunch of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. I did a video of that on the other day because I wanted to bring awareness to that. I think a lot of people don't know that the violence in the occupied West Bank has increased substantially since October 7th. And of course, what's their excuse? Because Hamas isn't in the occupied West Bank. What's their excuse? Iran's infiltrated. Evidence? Trust me, bro. That's their evidence. That's their evidence that they are doing offensive attacks in the occupied West Bank. They are doing offensive raids in the occupied West Bank, and then their excuse is Iran. It's like, you know what? The Palestinians have a right to defend themselves too. Okay? Palestinians have a right to defend themselves. Also, another thing. And they have every right to defend their land. All these quote unquote Christians, okay, that are talking about caring about Christianity so much, where are you at with all the Christians that are getting attacked in Bethlehem and in Jerusalem, that are getting their houses stolen? Weird. Haven't heard you talk about that.
And yes, if you are going to correlate it to Dresden, that would be a fair comparison, except much more has been dropped on Gaza than was dropped in Dresden. So is it fair to call what's happening in Gaza a Holocaust? Is that what we're looking after when you have this?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's funny because when I was first already like becoming pro-Palestine and stuff, there were some things that I was really uncomfortable with saying. And one of it was comparing what's happening to the Holocaust or using the term Nazi to describe what's happening. I was very uncomfortable with that at first because I felt like it was like maybe over the top, or it wasn't, fair, or it was too much, or it was hyperbolic. No more. Like we are well into that. Okay. And if they want us to stop saying that, they should probably stop putting their war crimes on camera. As I said a minute ago, there has been no one, no anti-Zionist, no Arab, no Muslim, no leftist. There has been no one that has shown the insanity, the war crimes, and the violence and the genocidal intent of the Israeli regime than themselves. So if you're a Zionist and you happen to come across this and you're big mad about everything us pro-Palestinian content creators or activists or anybody else that's saying criticisms of you guys, if you're really mad about that, go take that energy to Benjamin Milikowski Netanyahu and the other lunatics in the Israeli regime who have done more damage to your cause and to that country than anyone else.
Nonstop onslaught. And it's completely ridiculous to say, oh, well, this is happening because of Hamas. Let's be very clear. It is happening because the Israeli government will not stop bombing them. Okay. So you had a very sympathetic audience all around the world, myself included, when October 7th happened. There's not a single person that should or could justify the terrorist acts that was enacted by Hamas. But First
of all, shut up, Candace. I'm so tired of hearing that too. There's nothing that could justify the terrorist acts of Hamas. First of all, when you say, first of all, when she does say, you had a lot of sympathetic people after October 7th, that is true. And I was one of those people too, who was very sympathetic toward it. But actually, if you are somebody who is funding the genocide of the Palestinians, and that would include all of us as American taxpayers, which includes Candace Owens, you don't have a right to condemn the resistance. You don't.
Active punishment that is being assigned to the Gazans, the Palestinians living in Gaza, is also unacceptable. And the entire world should condemn it, and it should be made to stop. And I do believe that a radical fringe has taken hold of Israel. And further evidence of that, by the way, is that we are not even allowed to critique Israel without having people like Rabbi Schmuley, which I never said he threatened to murder me, but he has threatened me for 2 years, essentially trying to bully people into their belief that they have a right.
You never said that I threatened to murder you? We're going to post.
No, I never said that you threatened to murder me. Don't cut me off. I did not cut you off.
Okay, I will not cut you off. Go ahead,
I did not cut you off. Okay. The point is that now what's happening across America is that you have Zionist organizations that are threatening and bullying people because people are taking a stance against this act against humanity. What they're doing is inhumane in Palestine. And so what they're doing is they're saying this person should get fired. This person should lose their job. The Zionist Federation of Australia just asked for me to have my visa banned simply because I don't support what Israel is doing. And if that is what I have to pay, if ultimately what happens, I get my visa banned because Zionism has a lot of money in media, then so be it. It's less of a price than the children in Gaza are paying right now. And as a Christian, I will never support what Bibi Netanyahu is doing.
Right, and what's interesting to me, Rabbi Schmuley, hang on, yes, but let me just say again, the question I put to you earlier, it's not just people outside Israel who are now heavily criticizing Netanyahu and his government. It is people inside Israel in massive numbers. And so my question for you is, why? Why are so many people inside Israel taking to the streets to demand that Netanyahu stop this war?
No, they never said he should stop the war. They said there should be a ceasefire to release the hostages because Israel is a cult. Don't interrupt me, please, Candace. Because Israel is a culture of life. And that's why Israel got into this mess for October 7th. They traded 1,000 murderers, including Yahya Sinwar, who Israel saved at Soroka Hospital.
Israel is a culture of life? You're embarrassing. You're embarrassing. You're embarrassing. You literally had people go out on your media and brag about how it was okay to rape detainees. Also, let's not forget, because Candace Owens had to do the tap dance of, we're very upset, and we condemn Hamas and all the other, things that they always say. Let's not forget that one of the reasons why October 7th happened in the first place was because they said this from the beginning, the resistance wanted to get their 10,000 hostages out of detention, being held without charge. But we don't talk about those hostages.
Beersheba, when he had a brain tumor, the Hamas Hitler, who's the architect of October 7th, Israel saved his life. It's a culture of life, even for Palestinian murderers. They traded 1,000 for Gilad Shalit. You remember that. And now a whole group is saying, even if it leads to another October 7th, I need my children home. I understand that. Piers, I have 2 sons fighting in this war. I understand the dangers that are being faced. No one's saying to stop the war, not to destroy Hamas. They're saying, call a ceasefire to release the hostages because of their execution. But I must respond. First of all, Candace just said that Israel dropped more bombs on Gaza than on Dresden. What's your source for that? Do you know that in Dresden, there were 1,000 Lancaster bombers sent over 2 nights by Churchill, and then 800 American, that's 1,800 bombs. What's your source that Israel dropped more than on Dresden?
So it's just interesting because you realize that you used Dresden as an example.
No. Answer the question. You just made Piers. This is the question.
I said more tons.
You said that Israel. You just made a blood libel against the Jewish state. Dresden was 1,000 Lancaster bombers over 2 nights. I am asking you, what is your source? The answer. Okay, don't interrupt me, please. The answer is Piers. It's my turn. Piers.
Rabbi Schmuley, you can't ask someone a question and then refuse to let them answer.
So I asked for a source. I didn't ask for a question.
We've heard the question. It is absolutely absurd. I'm going to respond to what you are saying. This tactic of when anybody brings up anything that Israel is doing is wrong, you get to just scream blood libel and anti-Semitism. Oh my gosh, it's a blood libel. It is not a blood libel to talk about the amount of death and the tons of explosives that have been dropped on the civilians in Palestine, okay? That is not a blood libel against Jewish people. This is such a nasty and perverted tactic.
I wish that I could debate Rabbi Schmuley. I wish I could debate Rabbi Schmuley, okay?
Then what is your source?
Which essentially says, I don't have to debate anymore because I get to just call everybody a person who's accusing me of blood libels. Okay, truly, what is happening right now is that the blood of Palestinians is being shed. Okay, that is not a libel against the Jews. That is a fact and a reality against Bibi Netanyahu and this government, which has gone extreme in their response to October 7th. So stop this tactic.
Understood. Pierce, can I now have my turn again? All I asked was the source. Clearly, she has none. It was invented out of whole cloth. That's what a blood libel is. A blood libel is when Candace Owens says that the actual medieval blood libel.
What are you talking about? How is that a blood libel? That's literally a fact that they're killing people. Like literally a fact. What are you talking about? Let someone toxic like Candace. I think it would be fun to debate him, though, actually. But I'm still waiting for my invite from Piers. But do you condemn Hamas Morgan on his show?
That Jews.
And don't tell me that the reason why I'm not getting invited is because I'm not well known enough. Okay, he brings all kinds of nobodies on all the time. He brought crackhead Barney on. So that's not a good reason.
Killed Christians and drank their blood.
I will
she actually believes that. She's please don't interrupt me. She actually says that there were Christian bodies found all over Europe. When she said that I am not trying to kill her, we will post right after this, where she said it at least on 8 occasions. That's why she's being investigated by the FBI. Because you can lie about me, you can call me filth, and Pierce won't, and you can call me psychotic. I've never said that about you.
Crying. Oh my gosh.
What you can't do is incite violence against my family. You have repeatedly said I'm trying to kill you. You said the Jews killed JFK. You said if the Jews killed JFK,
you said all this earlier.
Protect the president.
Right,
wait, one second.
Can we get back to the moment? He's like, I know you're
wait. Let's just go back for a moment. No, Pierce, I have to respond to things.
Would you like a
source? When Candace says it is demonic.
You wanted the source from Candace.
I never got.
You wanted the source from Candace. I think she has one. Well, why don't you let her answer? I think she has one.
Let me fact check this source as well. So 70,000
Yes, I want to see where Israel dropped more bombs on Gaza than Dresden.
70,000 tons of explosive have been dropped on the Gaza Strip. Let's see how many tons of explosives were dropped on Dresden. 1 second.
You mean she said it and now she's fact-checking it? You're kidding me, right?
Well, you're asking me to give you the direct source live, and I'm going to look it up for you.
I don't have a computer on me. I don't have a computer on me. This is ridiculous.
Let her finish.
This is a cheat sheet. This is absurd.
I like how he's mad.
Go ahead.
I like how he's mad that he said that he didn't want that she was lying. And then when she's like, okay, here are the numbers, he's like, wait. There's a fact check? That's not fair. I just want to lie freely without a fact check. Take away her computer. That's not fair. Like, embarrassing. This guy's a joke.
Candace.
So 2,700 tons of bombs were dropped on Dresden in an 800 bomber air raid. And that is according to Britannica, the encyclopedia.
And what was the tonnage of bombs dropped in Gaza?
In Gaza, it was 70,000 tons of explosives were dropped in the Gaza Strip. And I got that from CNN.
Through the duration of the war today? Is that the time scale?
Yes.
Okay. So Rabbi Schmuley,
which
that
they're saying has surpassed
so let's be clear.
Dresden,
so over 11 months, she's comparing an 11-month war to a single night in Dresden. That's clearly absurd. I'm glad that she has her cheat sheet, her computer in front of her. But notice,
it's really not absurd.
We called it a blood libel.
It was also Hamburg and London, not just Dresden, actually. So, yeah, seriously, Rabbi Schmuley is so embarrassing that sometimes I'm like, is he an op? Is he an op?
Not knowing what she was talking about.
She said, hang on. What she said, to be clear, was that the Israeli...
It's also in the New York Times.
The Israeli Defense Force had dropped more bombs on Gaza than were dropped on Dresden. That is true. Do you accept that, Rabbi Schmuley?
You know, Pierce, I find this an astonishing debate.
You asked?
Wait, first of all, I don't... Wait. What do you mean it's true? Because she said it's true?
No, do you accept
Do you
that's
have
true?
fact checkers?
The New York Times says it's
Is this
true.
a serious show? Wait. Every time I
You
try to
asked
speak,
for a source. You
stop
called
me.
it a blood
She
libel. You
made
asked
a
for a source.
decision.
Fortunately, we had time to look it up.
Excuse me, you are interrupting me. She made a decision
Excuse
mistake.
me.
She admitted she had no source. She had to then use her computer. It's absurd
I
that she
didn't
has
say
a
I had no
computer
source.
during
I
this
just said I
debate.
had to look it up.
Because she had to look it up. One second.
But she was
Now
right.
she's saying
That's really funny.
that over an
Let's,
11
point out that he's actually mad that she fact checked it. Like, that's what he's mad about. Like, he's mad that she fact checked it.
month war. No, we don't know that she's right because your fact checkers haven't checked it, and my fact checkers haven't checked it. But let's just go back for a moment. Israel was attacked in the most savage way, and women were gang raped, their breasts were cut off. Candace recently had a guest on who even denies that women were raped. Now she's saying it's in the New York Times.
No, again, of course. And Candace Owens is probably not going to push back on this lie because it seems like she buys the narrative of everything happening the way that they claim that he's claiming happened on October 7th. But that's a lie. That is a lie. They made it up. He loves to go into the different, like, gross, like, sexual claims of, like, everything that he says happened that didn't. And a lot of what they said happened are things that they do to the Palestinians because, of course, every accusation is a confession. Those mass atrocity propaganda hoaxes have already been debunked, multiple times. Electric Intifada did reporting debunking it. The Gray Zone did reporting debunking it. The UN has already done different types of reports debunking it. It is ridiculous that we are a whole ass 11 months in here and he's still getting up on Bison's internet and repeating these hoaxes. Ridiculous. She's probably not going to push back on that lie, but he still is. He's still lying about it. And Roger Waters debunked it on Piers But Do You Condemn Hamas Morgan's show. But they keep repeating it. And nobody corrects them. Norma J said again, thank you again, Norma J, for the super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You having found out about the Middle East complexities and weeding through all the lies and not standing down when being doxxed and bullied, it takes a beautiful hearted person. Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. That's really sweet. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the super chat again. And I also appreciate you saying that because I do get attacked a lot by Zionists. And I did get doxxed. I got doxxed by some loser who works for the Israeli regime's embassy. And they do threaten me a lot, but whatever. It's like, I look at that as just being like, yeah, they get triggered because I'm telling the truth. And they get triggered because I think that I have resonance with other white people, because there are a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of other white people, Westerners, Americans, who aren't going to listen to what a brown person has to say. They don't listen to what an Arab person has to say. The messenger of certain things matters. And I think that coming from an American that is also white people are just more willing to listen, I think. That's just been my experience, honestly. And it sucks that it's like that because everything I'm saying to you guys, I learned from either Jewish people, Jewish anti-Zionists. I learned it directly from Palestinians living in Gaza, Palestinians in the diaspora, or I learned it from Zionist Black creators, other people from the Middle East, like the diaspora, Swana region, that are, American also. So I'm not saying anything that I didn't learn from those other marginalized communities, but unfortunately, people are racist. So it's still important to talk about it. I feel like, especially if you're a white American. Oh, is there a Zionist in here? Is there a troll in here, you guys? Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on some of the... Yeah, some of the best people who also have talked about this are anti-Zionist Jews. A lot of people that I follow Like I was watching already Bad Hasbara and Katie Halper and Norm Finkelstein. Like they were a lot of the people that like actually helped me first. Like I give credit to anti-Zionist Jews because a lot of them are leading this, people like Medea Benjamin and Jewish Voices for Peace, but also because I told you guys that I was afraid to criticize Israel before October 7th because I thought if I did, it would be anti-Semitic. Watching anti-Zionist Jews actually pull back the lies and really confront what the Israeli regime was doing, they were some of the first people that kind of opened my eyes and helped me be able to start looking more at what everybody else was saying without the fear or to get over being called anti-Semitic. Because when I first started getting called anti-Semitic, it really upset me. And then after a while, I was like, oh, okay, I see. This is just a weapon. They're just using identity politics as a weapon. And they're using, which to me is really disgusting, the actual marginalization and historical anti-Semitism that Jews have faced historically as a weapon to marginalize and oppress another marginalized group, which is particularly disgusting. Because it's not like in America where like white people and white colonizers came here and they were not, ever oppressed. They were the oppressors and the colonizers, and they always had the power here in this country. It's not like that. Jewish people have historically been oppressed and obviously did go through the Holocaust. So for Zionists and Israelis to turn around and use that very real historical oppression and atrocity to now oppress and annihilate another people, to me is particularly galling. Thank you, AK, for the super sticker. Good to see you, AK. I haven't seen any of your comments yet so far. Except just here, exactly, AK, weaponizing the Holocaust, which to me is pretty disgusting and disgraceful.
She said the other day that the New York Times lied and fabricated about the mass rape of women. She had the former press secretary of Bernie Sanders who denies that. Now she suddenly likes the New York Times. You are speaking to the number one.
Except for the fact that it has been discredited. And aside from the fact that, Bree attacked me the other day and all her followers started attacking me because I said I didn't like Jill, because of my Jill Stein video saying I didn't support her. Despite that, I will defend Bree here because this is about principle. And what Bree said, calling out the atrocity propaganda hoaxes, the same thing that got her fired from Rising, was true. So that's not the win you think it is, Schmuley.
Critic of the New York Times in America. And by the way, this is a typical thing. Candace will say there's no racism in America. Then she will sue, which she did, the Stanford, Connecticut Board of Education for a $40,000 settlement against racism. She then went on a show and fabricated and said it wasn't a settlement. It was actually for tutors for 1 month. You tell me which tutors are paid $40,000 per month. She will say that I have no right to bring up her family. First of all, I didn't. It was her own father-in-law who condemned her. But she can bring up Brigitte Macron. She can bring up Emmanuel. She can destroy their marriage. Obsess, and you were very good on that, Pierce, challenging her. She can destroy.
Again, two things can be true at once. It is true that he is trying to use this to discredit what she's saying about the Israeli regime's genocide in Gaza, which is a joke. It's bullshit. And he is making up shit about fake atrocity propaganda hoaxes that have already been debunked. And he's trying to claim that she defended, that they is defending that, even though he's the one lying and making it up. And she actually never even called it out. But it's also true that Candace Owens did sue for racial discrimination and then turned around and said that there wasn't really racism in America. But the right wing, a lot of right wingers like him, they loved it when she was trashing Black people. They loved it when she was trashing trans people. It's only when she started trashing the Israeli regime that all of them turned on her, including the Daily Wire, because let's keep it fucking real. She was hired by the Daily Wire specifically to be the Black person that trashed Black people, to be the woman that trashed women, to trash trans people. That's exactly why she was hired. It was that she stepped on the rake of the third rail of criticizing Israel, and that's when they got rid of her.
destroy other people's marriages. And you know what's also interesting?
Hang on.
Wait.
Don't just keep talking.
One final point. The day after October 7th, she said nothing for a few days, never condemned it.
Yeah.
And when you asked her on the show, she said, Pierce, I never talk about anything international.
Again, she never even called out the fake atrocity propaganda hoaxes. Brianna Joy Gray did, but Candace Owens never did. So why is he attacking her for that when she never even called it out? She should have, but she hasn't.
Is Brigitte Macron an American?
But
so
you
she can
just
speak about the
gives
genitals
a
of the
fuck
First
about
Lady of
Brigitte
France for
Macron?
months, but
I've
not
already
condemn
said-
the gang rape
Yes.
of Jewish women?
I've already said to Candace, I don't believe a word of the Brigitte Macron thing. What I would say about what you've just quoted Lord Farmer as saying, you said that he
cares?
condemned Candace in the statement he put on X. He didn't condemn her. I just read it again. And there's no
Who did
condemnation
membership?
of his daughter-in-law. He simply set
You're
out...
kidding.
Read the
first line. Read the first line.
In view
Read the
of
first line,
public
please.
comments from a high-profile member of
I
my
saw
family,
somebody
I
say
want to
thanks
put
for
my
the
own views
membership.
on
Thank you for whoever
anti-Semitism
gave that
and
to
Israel's
them.
current military campaign in Gaza on public record. Where's the condemnation?
Thank you very
of
much.
Candace?
Thank you.
Where's the condemnation?
Thank you. So let's get the time. So let's get the timeline. Candace says she was on vacation
When did he condemn
with her
her?
father-in-law 2 days before. Wait,
Where
just
did
one
he
second.
condemn her?
You and I can read between the lines on any press
I'm not
statement.
reading between the
Number one,
lines.
she says, in
You
view
said
of a-
he
in
condemned
view of a
her.
high-profile-
I've just shown you he didn't condemn her.
He absolutely condemned her.
No, he
He doesn't
didn't.
once say it's my
He gave his
daughter-in-law
own
Candace, and I love her, but we disagree. Number two, he went on to say that Israel has every right. He was distancing himself for her repulsive,
No,
putrid,
he gave
and
his own
reptilian
opinion.
anti-Semitism.
He gave his own opinion.
Why did he start by saying, in light of a
He
high-profile
gave
member
his
of
own
my
opinion.
family?
He didn't condemn her. I didn't even name her.
He
Candace,
distanced himself from
Let me
Candace
ask
Owens.
Candace a different question, which is this. Candace, why is it, do you think, that so many people in the Jewish community believe that you are anti-Semitic?
I think that's actually a very good question. And just to go back, I'm going to answer your question. I just want to make sure people are recognizing, because he said a lot of stuff there. He's not able to counter. He essentially tried to hold me to looking up the sources. We've now found the sources, and it's the BBC, it's the New York Times, and it is the Euromed Human Rights
We have
Monitor.
found no sources, and we'll fact check it afterwards. You looked it up during the show. I'm sorry.
Bombs were dropped on Gaza, and per the BBC, the British
No,
aircraft
he's
dropped
lying.
4,000
He's
tons of
lying
bombs
about
on Dresden. So just for clarity,
In a
you can
single
look
night,
it up.
not
He
11
called that a
months.
blood
In a
libel,
single
and
night,
it's-
correct.
Please don't cut me off. I have not cut you off. He called it a blood libel because that is a strategy, which is meant to just distract people from the truth or looking into it. So you say everything you say is a blood libel. Now, to answer your question, Piers, I think that's a very good question. And the answer for that is because the media as an entity has been basically mining Jewish pain, the history of their pain, by taking people out of context and presenting things that are as a fact that is simply untrue, things that I've never said. We are watching right now, and that's why I'm grateful for you to provide this opportunity. You are watching Rabbi Schmuley do this live, right? When we talk about yellow journalism and people that take things out of context and try to present it to people with a bunch of hysteria and go, oh my gosh, Candace said this. Oh my gosh, Candace is a Holocaust denier. Oh my gosh, he's called me all of these names. And he doesn't have a single fact in there. They just know that if they say those things, it's a trigger. It is reminiscent of exactly what was done for Black Americans for a very long time. They have now since changed their perspective on me. But for a long time, they thought that I legitimately hated being Black and hated the color of my skin because I stood against Black Lives Matter as an organization, and I stood against what Black Lives Matter was doing. And the
No, people didn't say that. People called you out because you lied about the murder of George Floyd. And then you capitalized on that lie by continuing to claim that like there wasn't, racism in America, and this made up lie about how you were getting all these Black people to leave the Democratic Party because of quote unquote the Democrat plantation, when like in reality that's actually not happening. Oh shit, I didn't plug this in the entire time. I thought it was plugged in. Claiming that all these Black people were leaving the Democratic Party thanks to you, when in actuality, like overwhelming majorities of Black people support the Democrats. But okay, let's just pretend that didn't happen. Sure, Jan.
media made them hysterical. She's a Black person who doesn't even want to be Black, and she's a Black white supremacist. They bought that narrative because when the media lies, a lot of people accept that what they're reading is true. But of course, I didn't hate Black Americans. I didn't hate anything other than BLM abusing and mining Black pain, going back and saying, well, it's going to be just like slavery, to distract people from what was ultimately just a fraudulent organization that was actually going to bring more harms to Black Americans in the end. And that's how I feel about the state of Israel.
Well, if she had just criticized the Black Lives Matter organization, I don't think many of us would have had a problem with that, because there was fraud in the Black Lives Matter organization, the national organization. But that's not all she did. She was criticizing the entire movement. She was downplaying every single time a Black person was getting murdered by the police. Like, stop rewriting history, brah.
and everything they're doing. Ultimately, I believe it's going to yield more anti-Semitism. It's going to make people associate what Bibi Netanyahu is doing to all Jews around the world. And so I think it's important for them to realize it's the same exact tactics of manipulation, the same exact name calling and ad hominem attacks that is not based in fact and not based in reality, but based in not wanting to answer the fair critiques that people have about what Israel is doing. But that's a very good question.
Okay, Rabbi Schmuley, I mean, there's some validity to that argument, I think, is that too often I do see people immediately branded anti-Semitic if they dare to criticize the Israeli government. There's a very big difference between criticizing a government and its actions and a whole people, which is what anti-Semitism is. And do you accept that difference?
The beauty of Israel is it's a democracy. You just said that hundreds of thousands of people are marching against Benjamin Netanyahu. I welcome those protests. It shows that even during...
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she smeared a lot of them. Oh, what was his name? It was like Aubrey. What was the guy's name that got killed when he was jogging by the police and by like the white guys that killed him looked like redneck stereotypes. Like it reminded me Ahmaud Arbery. No one said it. I remembered it. Ahmaud Arbery. When he was killed, the guys that killed him literally chased him. And it reminded me of, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie A Time to Kill. I saw it when I was a kid and it like scarred me when I was like really young, and I saw it when I was really young. At the very beginning of A Time to Kill, these two greasy white rednecks sexually assault and murder this little black girl. And that's what that reminded me of, like the way they chased him, and she smeared him. Like, so like, please. She, like I said, she did that because that was exactly what she was hired by the Daily Wire to do. That was exactly what she was hired by them to do. I'm not saying that she doesn't have sincere beliefs about certain things. I'm sure she does. But there's definitely audience capture. And in media, in political media, in content creation, you are encouraged to be as extreme as possible on certain issues or take certain things in order to make your audience happy. And she really got her name because of the fact that she was criticizing and putting down Black people and defending police killing Black people. That's really, and trashing trans people, of course. And that's why the Daily Wire was like, yes, let's bring her in. But again, we all know what happened. Then she criticized the Israeli regime and they were done with her ass.
During war. Listen, in 1864, the United States had a presidential election. Some people wanted to cancel it, saying that how could you elect Lincoln when this is...
Yeah, that too. That's why it really, I think it's hilarious when Fox News loved her. Yes. Remember, guys, Tucker Carlson, who literally just brought a Holocaust denier to come do Holocaust denial on his show, who's like a Nazi apologist. Tucker Carlson used to bring Candace Owens on his show all the time to just make up shit about abortion, doing like post-birth abortion, make up shit about like Black Lives Matter and immigration. And he loved it because a lot of white supremacists would use Candace Owens to be the black face coming on, saying what they wanted to say, but they felt like they couldn't say out loud. Like that really is like they wanted to say certain things about Black people, about trans people, and they didn't feel that they had the political space to do it. So they would bring her on to do it. And that would happen all the time, which is why I find it particularly sus when a bunch of leftists, Jill Stein supporters, came after me and attacked me for saying I didn't support Jill Stein, because that, if I don't support Jill Stein, that means I support Holocaust Harris, and are the same people that I will see retweeting Candace Owens and being like, actually, Candace Owens was based. Candace Owens has a point, man. She's based. Really? Interesting. Interesting leftists talking about how base Candace Owens is while you yell at me and talk about, you know, how it's really bad that I don't support Jill Stein because that means I'm a shitlib and a Democratic shill for the Democratic Party. But then you think Candace Owens is based? All right. Yeah, that's not
Civil War, and they still had the election. Israel's the same. Let's just go through Candace Owens' history of
Well, hang on.
anti-Semitism. That is utterly unconnected.
I will let you do that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lie. Holocaust Harris is funny. Holocaust Harris is funny. I just think it's interesting that there's a bunch of tone policers on the left that were screaming at me about not supporting Jill Stein and what a cuck move it was, and how, you know, it's crazy that I would even consider voting for a Democrat because they support genocide and this and that, and we need to be leftists and support the Green Party, and are retweeting clips of Candace Owens talking about how base she is. Like, be so fucking for real.
And she can respond. But on my specific point, though, do you accept that it's perfectly possible, and
Obama
indeed it should be in a robust democratic society, a central tenet of this, that Israel's government and its prime minister should be criticized by...
First of all, person who wrote, "You are a Democrat lib, though. It is what it is." Yeah, and I bet you're a kind of type of person that's one of those people that was retweeting Candace Owens' base. Honestly, you can call me a Democrat or a lib. I really don't give a shit. I do vote Democrat. Cry. I vote Democrat down ballot most of the time, like 90% of the time. I voted for Joe Biden. I kind of regret that now. But yeah, I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. I vote for Democrats. I voted for the Democratic Senate and the Democratic House members. I vote for my Democratic Socialist state legislatures on the Democratic Socialist line. Yeah, you're not going to catch me voting for a Republican. The only Republican who isn't a total fascist is Thomas Massey. He's like the only Republican that I actually kind of like. And yeah, hindsight's 2020. I didn't know that Joe Biden was going to be like a genocidal Zionist, and I guess bad on me for not doing my research about that. But at the same time, when Joe Biden was running, he was running against Trump, who is a lunatic and had drove the economy off the cliff and was like pretending that COVID wasn't a big deal after a bunch of people died from it. So yeah, if you think that you're like eating because you're like, actually you're a Democrat. Yeah, I do vote Democrat. And also, I do stand by what I said, that you should have voted for Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, who are Democrats and who had AIPAC shills running against them. Yeah, hashtag not fucking sorry. If you have a problem with that, go back to Candace Owens' page and talk about how actually Candace Owens is really the basest leftist one with the leftist ideas because she's against the Democrat Party, but also is an anti-vaxxer and also defends and goes on Holocaust denier shows and also defends a bunch of other white supremacist ideology and is anti-trans, but somehow is and defends voting for Donald Trump and defends voting for Republicans, and that's based. But me voting for Democrats or not supporting Jill Stein, not okay, man. Not okay with you. Here's the thing. Some of you are just actually right-wingers, okay? People who say that, people who are big mad about that, some of you are actually just right-wingers who just hate the Democrats, and that's your whole personality. If you care about Palestine and you attack people for even considering for voting for Kamala Harris, but you don't have any smoke for the right wing who have made clear they're going to vote for Donald Trump, and who have made clear that they're going to vote for the right-wing Senate and the right-wing House when all of those people are genocidal Zionists, you might be full of shit. You might actually just be a right-winger who calls yourself a leftist. Yeah, one of the unfortunate things I've been finding out since I started getting all these attacks from the Green Party is that a lot of these people are transphobic as fuck. Unfortunately. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that it's like, I don't even, that's the thing that really gets me about it, is the fact that they don't have any smoke for anybody else. Like, yeah, there's a lot of TERFs. They don't have any smoke for the right wing. They don't have any smoke for Republicans. They're fucking retweeting Candace Owens and talking about how base she is. But they have all the smoke for people who in their local elections vote Democrat and who might vote for Harris. Maine, the Dems are bad, but the right is way worse for Palestine. Yeah. And again, I would never say, even if I decide to vote for Kamala Harris, which I am not convinced of right now, because I still think she has not earned my vote. She's not earned my vote with the way that she's talking about the Israeli regime. But even if I did, the fact that they go, okay, I would never say, oh, I'm voting for Kamala Harris because I think that she's going to do so much for Palestine. Absolutely not. If I end up voting for Kamala Harris, it will be because of domestic policy, not because I actually think she's done anything except for exactly what Joe Biden has done on Palestine. But what really chaps my ass is the right wingers and the Green Party leftists that attack the Democrats nonstop, but have nothing to say about the Republicans. Donald Trump literally uses Palestinian as a fucking slur. He literally says they need to finish the job. He got $100 million from Miriam Adelson so that they'll annex the occupied West Bank. He promises to annex the occupied West Bank, what is left of it, if he gets in office again. He literally walks around saying you're not really Jewish if you vote for a Democrat because I'm so hard. I'll be even more psychotic when it comes to Israel. He's the one who moved the fucking U.S. embassy to Jerusalem, which was partially what caused October 7th. Yeah, when he says no one will end it quicker than I will, he means wiping out the rest of them. Whose son-in-law was it that said that Gaza had beautiful beachfront properties that they could put great, great hotels on? That was Jared Kushner, his lunatic Zionist son-in-law, who will be in his administration again if he wins. Again, I am not saying that Kamala Harris does not deserve a ton of fucking smoke. She does. But I just think it's very convenient and a little sauce that all the leftists and Green Party activists that have been attacking me for saying I don't support Jill Stein or I don't support the Green Party have not only nothing to say about Republicans, nothing to say about the right wing, but will actually get on Al Gore's internet and retweet people like Candace Owens, who have actively and openly said she's going to vote for Donald Trump. Why aren't you yelling at her and her audience and telling them, hey, if you really care about Palestine, you probably shouldn't be retweeting Candace Owens and calling her based? Yeah, you're just full of shit, pal. You're full of shit. Yeah, all of this people who are getting mad, who are saying that, oh, they were just retweeting her point. Hey, this is just cope. This is cope. You don't want to be accountable for the fact that you're full of shit. You're full of shit. You have all the smoke in the fucking world for Democrats, but your whole personality is just Democrat bad, and you don't have anything to say about the Republicans. You don't have anything to say about the Republicans. You don't have anything. You talk about the duopoly, but you never criticize the right. I've been to some of your pages. And all you do is criticize the Democrats. If you are really about criticizing the duopoly, where the fuck is your criticism for the Republican Party, the other side of the duopoly? Who's the other side of the duopoly? The Republicans. So where the fuck is your criticism for them? Nah, this is just bullshit. This is a bunch of fake, full of shit leftists talking about how they're principled when it comes to Gaza. And you better vote for the Green Party or else you're just standing for the duopoly. And then you go and you look at their pages and they've got no criticisms of the right, no criticisms of Trump, no criticisms of the Republican Party. And they retweet Candace Owens talking about how base she is and all the great points she was making. with no criticism for her, with no criticism for her ideology or the fact that she stands the Republican Party and Donald Trump. Like, you're so full of shit. It's ridiculous. Yeah, a line I hear a lot from these so-called leftists, the people that are in the Green Party have been attacking me recently. Just tune in to MSNBC, TYT, Vosh. Okay, you know what's funny is that you think that that's some kind of an own, but I never claim not to like TYT or Vosh. I like Vosh. I like TYT. I like Kyle Kalinske. Yeah, all you do, that's another excuse that people like this use in order to do propaganda for the right wing. They go, oh, I don't criticize the right because other people already do it. Yeah, I like the Majority Report. I like Sam Cedar. So when they go, oh, the reason why we never criticize the right wing is because we don't need to. The progressives in media already do. That is a very convenient excuse, especially since if you're a content creator or a media company or anybody that uses your platform for advocacy online, why do you assume that everybody knows what you know? Why are you assuming that everybody knows that the Republicans are bad? Why do you assume that everybody knows that? You don't know that. Like, that is such a horseshit excuse. The people that only say, oh, I never criticize the right wing because mainstream media already does that. Yeah, well, a lot of people don't watch mainstream media. And if someone is looking at you or following you for criticism of the duopoly or criticism of the both Democrats and Republicans, why aren't you criticizing the other side of the duopoly and saying, oh, other people do it? Yeah, well, you said they suck. You said if you're saying, oh, like TYT and Vosh and Majority Report already criticized the Republicans. Yeah, but you just said they suck and that people shouldn't watch them. So isn't it incumbent on you to criticize them too? The right wing? Nah. A lot of you are just trying to sheepdog people into the right wing. That's what you're doing. Handle, pal, will be free. You're literally just trying to sheepdog people into the right wing under the auspices of holding the duopoly, breaking the duopoly, and holding the Democrats accountable. Let's be for real. Anyway, I'm not answering that person anymore. I'm done. Of course, you're a Marxist-Leninist. Of course. Because it's always the Marxist-Leninist, communist leftists that conveniently have no criticisms for the fascist Republican Party. Conveniently. Which are actually just mouthpieces and sheepdogs for the right wing. Like, it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Anyway, I didn't mean to get caught off and distracted by that. I'm just genuinely getting really tired of these right-wingers coming in and making commentary under the guise of being Marxist-Leninists when actually they are just trying to herd people into right-wing fascism and using being leftist or being a part of the Green Party as a shield. And the other funny part is every single one of them that I've responded to and said, what do you do in your local community for your local Green Party chapter? None of them could answer because they don't do anything. None of them had an answer except for, oh yeah, what do you do? Oh yeah, what do you do? What do you do? I'm not a part of the Green Party, but the Green Party really lacks infrastructure and really lacks volunteers. So what are you doing to help your local Green Party chapter? Nothing. Nothing. Whole lot of nothing from these people. Anyway, I am muting Pal Will Be Free because they're clearly a right-winger who is trying to sheepdog people into the right wing under the auspices of being a communist. or a Marxist, and I'm actually really tired of hearing them. So I'm muting you. Oh, hold on, you guys. Yeah, sorry. We have to finish this Rabbi Schmuley thing. My kafia is awesome. Like, get out of here. My kafia is awesome. No, to be clear, Reefer Sutherland, I was talking to the person that was calling themselves a Marxist-Leninist. But to be clear, like, I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with voting for the Green Party if that's who you align with. If that's who you align with and that's who you want to support, then do that. But that person that was just in my chat is the same exact person that is screeching at people about how they need to vote for a third-party candidate or else they support genocide, while retweeting Candace Owens and talking about how base she is. Like, it's actually insane.
Anyone who chooses to criticize them, without the people who criticize them being branded anti-Semitic.
Of course. I am a very close friend of Netanyahu, and I criticize him allowing Qatar. Qatar is one of the most duplicitous, evil governments in the world. They house all of the leaders, the billionaire leaders of Hamas. I criticize Benjamin Netanyahu, my dear friend, for allowing money to go into Hamas in the belief that they could be bought off. I criticize the Israeli government for not recognizing the Armenian genocide, something that Candace Owens blames the Jews. She actually says that Kemal Ataturk.
Norbu LA saying, I criticize what the Democratic Party has become. Yeah, I didn't say there was anything wrong with criticizing the Democratic Party. The Democrats are trash. I criticize them literally all the time. I am always criticizing the Democrats and Blue MAGA and all the other people who attack people on the left. But you can't be like, I criticize what the Democrats have become, and I hate that they attack leftists and then turn around and act exactly like them. Or the people that say, oh, well, I hate what the Democrats have become and I criticize the duopoly, but really I only criticize one side of that. Like, don't say that people are wrong for telling you who to vote for and then attack people and tell them who to vote for.
Was led by the Jews to the Armenian genocide. By the way, the Armenian genocide took place under the Ottoman Turks, not Kemal Ataturk. She has no sense of history, and she just fabricates constantly.
Okay,
but let's just look for 1 moment.
Okay, on the specific
wait 1 second. But let's go through her history of anti-Semitism. Please.
Yes, you said you had specifics of Candace Owens being
yes, I will. Yes,
anti-Semitic. What are those examples?
Anti-Semitism.
Okay. You see, the Jewish community did not want Candace Owens to be anti-Semitic. This is actually a tragedy that a woman gifted by God with such eloquence has decided to become a purveyor of hate. And when she said in 2018 that she has no issue with Hitler because if he was a nationalist, but then he wanted to go beyond her borders, even then we didn't call her an anti-Semite. That's an absurd thing to say, that you had no issue with Hitler. Hitler, even domestically by then, had enacted all the Nuremberg laws. There was already the November 9th, 1938 pogrom.
Hang on. Just to clarify, let's take these one at a time. What do you believe she said about Adolf Hitler in the clip you're talking about?
She said that there was no issue with Hitler except for the fact that he went beyond his borders. If he was a nationalist,
let's play the clip.
Let me play the clip. But my point is, no one called her.
In the interest of fairness, I'm going to play the clip so that viewers who've never heard it can hear what actually got said.
Yeah, I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not nationalism. So, and thinking about how it could go bad down the line, I don't really have an issue with nationalism. I really don't. I think that it's okay. It's important to retain your country's identity and to make sure that what's happening here, which I think is incredibly worrisome in terms of the
being a nationalist is bad, actually. There's a difference between just like being patriotic and being a nationalist. Being a nationalist actually is bad. And that's not all Hitler wanted to do. Like that clip is insane.
The decrease in the birth rate that we're seeing in the UK is what you kind of want to avoid. So I don't have anything problem. I have no problem.
Decrease in the birth rate. That's another white supremacist dog whistle, is the claim that like white people are disappearing.
With nationalism, it's globalism that I try to avoid.
So, Candace, on that specific point, would you say that Rabbi Schmuley has categorized it correctly or not?
He's just openly lying, and that's why he didn't want you to play the clip. I was in the UK, by the way. I was at the Royal Mobile Club. There were Jewish journalists in the room, and nothing was written about it until months later when somebody was working on a hit piece about me. I was answering a question when they were saying, how can we just embrace the word nationalism when it sort of has this dirty feel? And I was just essentially saying that I actually don't have an issue with nationalism. I think it's totally fine to be a British nationalist, to be an American nationalist. And the problem is that it's wrongly attributed. That word, I think people instantly associate it with Adolf Hitler. And I would argue that he wasn't actually a nationalist, because obviously he invaded Poland and he went beyond German borders. I didn't even mention Jewish people. I didn't mention the Holocaust. And suddenly you have people like Rabbi Schmuley who are pretending that I got up there and I defended Adolf Hitler. It's just, this isn't
that is not what she said.
And this is why I say right now, please don't cut me off. Please do not cut me off. A huge issue that you have right now is this dishonesty. If you really want to understand why Israel is facing a PR crisis, why Zionism right now to people doesn't feel good and they don't want to associate themselves with it, is because it seems like it takes so many lies to maintain. There's no reason to misrepresent what I said and to tell people that I support Adolf Hitler, other than the fact that you want people to hate me. And so I'm deeply appreciative that you guys had that clip ready to go.
Well, you may respond to what you just said and to that clip. Now you watched it.
Okay. She keeps on saying lying. I never said you shouldn't play the clip. I'm actually happy you did. She said if Hitler had only focused on domestic policy, she would have had no issue with him. His domestic policy was to the Kristallnacht, burned down 3,000 synagogues in a single night domestically. That was not in Poland. That was not in Czechoslovakia. His domestic policy was the 1934 Nuremberg laws. His domestic policy was a complete dictatorship where he destroyed the Bundestag and subjected and created Dachau under Himmler. So those are the historical facts. And but what I said was, even then, the Jewish community gave her a pass. She explained it. One mistake, people make mistakes. Here's her history of anti-Semitism.
Why does he
She's not going to be barred from going into Australia because of anything she said about Israel. That is a fabrication.
Bro, why does he think that he speaks like on behalf of the whole Jewish community? Like, bro. Oh, thank you, old bony bird. Side note, I'm eating baklava. Amazing. That's amazing, old bony bird. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's amazing. Baklava ice cream. That sounds
She's going to be barred. Australia is my wife's country.
I've never had that.
She's going to be barred to go to Australia because she's a Holocaust denier. Because a 100-year-old victim of Yosef Mengele, the angel of death's experiments, came forward and said, you are going to traumatize me all over again. She actually said that Mengele's experiments, the fourth worst person in Nazi Germany after Hitler, Himmler, Goebbels, Mengele, it was a fabrication. She's an out-and-out Holocaust denier. And Australia, God bless them, took in so many survivors after the war, including my wife's family from Slovakia.
Well, let me ask Candace Owens now. Let me ask her now.
She said that the Mengele experiments were false. Go ahead.
Let me ask Candace Owens now two things. One, are you a Holocaust denier, or do you accept that 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazis in the Holocaust? And secondly, do you believe that Joseph Mengele did what he is reported to have done and has been since World War II ended?
Thank you for those questions. No, absolutely. I am not a Holocaust denier. This is, again, another fabrication based off of a monologue that I did in which I was putting pressure on the American government to explain why it is a fact that we learned all of these things about the horrific things that Nazi scientists did. And to be clear, Piers, I did not even mention Joseph Mengele's name in this skit at all. I spoke about all the things that we learned, that we were told over the years, some of which ended up being rebutted. And, there were tons of, that part doesn't matter. The point is, the end conclusion of that is that the CIA, via an operation known as Operation Paperclip, took the Nazi scientists and brought them to America, where they continued horrific experiments on Americans. That's the full context of that. So they pulled out a statement, one sentence where I said, we've heard all of these sorts of things that they've done, cut people in half, sewed them back together. And I said, that sounds like a ridiculous waste of time. And when you pull that clip up by its...
She's kind of quibbling here because... there were operations obviously done by the CIA and stuff, but she is kind of quibbling here because she was saying that a lot of them were like, why should we believe these ridiculous things? Just because you didn't come out and say Mengele's name, like there was a lot of implied shit from at least the clip I saw. Maybe I'm wrong because I didn't see the whole show, but yeah, why'd she call it a skit? That's bizarre. A skit?
itself, it sounds like I'm just diminishing all of these stories, when in reality, I'm saying, let's take everything at face value. Let's say everything we've ever heard was true. Why on earth would the American government acquiesce to bringing these scientists over to America? And as a fact, Dr. Mengele was not one of the scientists which was brought over to America. So
but just to be clear, you accept, hang on, I'll come to you, Rabbi Schmuley. To be clear, you accept the Nazis murdered 6 million Jews in the Holocaust?
Yeah, I have never once in any of my appearances
I'm just asking you to clarify
denied the Holocaust atrocities.
Okay.
Ever.
And you accept that Joseph Mengele was a despicable man who perpetrated horrendous crimes, including experimenting on Jewish people when they were still alive?
All of the scientists, the Nazi experiments that were done.
Yeah, obviously. But that doesn't mean that it's okay for the Israeli regime to now do a Holocaust in Gaza. Yes, the Holocaust happened, and they did murder 6 million Jews. But that's not the only Holocaust that has happened. They're doing it right now, and you don't get to use the Holocaust as an excuse for that.
Were horrific, and that's why I was saying they were so horrific that it makes you go, why on earth would the American government in this clandestine operation bring over the Nazi scientists who then became a part of our CIA and continued experiments onto.
O'Day, thank you so much for the super chat. I haven't seen you in a minute. Where you been? Rabbi Schmuley's so embarrassed.
America through to the 60s and the 70s. And
All right, let me ask Rabbi
what
Schmuley
those
to
experiments
respond.
were that was done throughout the Korean War.
Rabbi Schmuley, your response.
We love O'Day. O'Day's one of the...
After this debate, we will post every single clip. That was a complete and utter fabrication. What she said was that she doubts that any of this happened because it was, as she just said, a waste of time. The whole Holocaust was a waste of time. Hitler had no winter equipment for his soldiers.
Yeah, 100%. Somebody said it wasn't just Jews that were killed in the Holocaust. Yes, if you add the other people that were killed in the Holocaust, it's actually closer to 11 million. It was Romanis that they called gypsies at the time. It was LGBTQ plus people that were killed. It was people with disabilities who were killed. They killed people who were German who harbored Jewish people or hid them. They killed Catholic people that were harboring Jews. They killed a lot of people. Yeah, and Russians. It's insane to me that we actually don't talk about that part of history more, how many Russians were actually killed during World War II. It was upwards of 45 million or something crazy like that. Let me fact check that. I don't want to be giving you guys misinformation. How many Russians died in World War II? 27 million. Okay, but it says 27 million plus. 27 million. That's crazy. That is crazy. We really don't, I guess, honestly, we don't talk about it probably. You don't really learn about it because this country is hostile to Russia. We hate Russia. We can't stop the Cold War. Communism bad. Red Scare. So we don't really talk about that. But it's actually insane that we don't learn really about or talk about the sheer amount of Russians that were killed in World War II. 27 million is an insane number. Thank you, Sailor Jerry. Excellent show. Schmuley gives me PTSD. Thank you for the super chat, Sailor Jerry. Yeah, he's super cringe, but I felt like this was a really interesting debate to go over just because of the fact that, despite the fact that I've already gone on my rant criticizing Candace Owens and how she's a nationalist and super right wing and uses Christianity as a weapon and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to watch it. And in this context, though, arguing about the smearing that happens to people that criticize Israel, it is true that she has been a victim of that. There have been some unfair criticisms and attacks on her because she criticized the Israeli regime, which is a third rail in this country. And you will be smeared and they will try to ruin your life if you criticize them. And Rabbi Schmuley is a lunatic. He's a lunatic, an actual right-wing Zionist psychopath. Thank you, O'Day, for the super chat. Long story short, I've been Are you serious? My gosh, that's why I hadn't seen you. I'm so sorry. is it okay if I, like, okay, is it okay if I mention that where you live, O'Day? Like, not like your house, but like the area that you live in to chat? Because O'Day, like I said, is one of our OG members here. That's really scary. All right, Jerusalem. Okay, so O'Day, for everybody who doesn't know, not his street address, but I know, oh, Bodie Bird, I know. Okay, okay. So O'Day, again, one of our OG members here, and also thank you again so much for the super chat. He lives in the occupied West Bank, and as we know, the IOF and the Israeli regime has been upping their attacks, their vicious attacks on the occupied West Bank, despite the fact that Hamas doesn't operate there, because they're claiming that there are proxies of Iran there, which is made up. It's a total lie, so that they can conduct more raids, unauthorized, illegal under international law, raids on the occupied West Bank, arrest people like they've arrested O'Day with no right to do so, with no reason to do so. They arrest them without charge. They put them in Israeli jails without charge, without a fair hearing. And they have been killing more Palestinians in the occupied West Bank since October 7th and stopping them more unlawfully than at any time in almost 20 years. This is insanity. I'm sorry, O'Day, that you've had to go through that. It's really, really scary. I got beat up very aggressively. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that you've been going through that, because that's what they do. There's no accountability for the Israeli regime. They beat up Palestinians living in the occupied West Bank. I'm sure you guys have seen that they have upped even more, because they already would always be stealing their houses. They're doing it even more aggressively. They're going into Jerusalem, in areas of Jerusalem where a lot of Christians live, and just stealing their houses. They're beating the shit out of Palestinians that are just trying to go about their day-to-day lives. They're stopping them at checkpoints and interrogating them with no reason. It's really scary, and I'm scared for people like O'Day, because they always target men the most. Obviously, they could give a fuck about killing women and children, which they do all the time in Gaza, but they particularly put targets on men because they'll just claim that they're Islamic Jihad or Hamas. Like, that's why it's scary. Like, Palestinian men living in anywhere in Palestine are targets of the Israeli regime, because they'll just kill them and then call them Hamas or say that they're militants. In the early 90s. I'm so sorry. And I'm sorry that you've been going through that. I'm legitimately worried about O'Day and all of the people, especially the men living in the occupied West Bank, because what O'Day is explaining, and it's so horrific, and I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but unfortunately, his situation is not unique. You guys, I want you to understand that. If you're in the United States, like, what he's going through, this is not unique. They are doing this to Palestinians all the time. I'm praying for you too. I'm praying for you too, O'Day, that you have a speedy and full recovery. Yeah, this is everyday life for you guys. This is why it's important for people to understand what the Zionist project is. This is why it's very important for people to understand what the Zionist project is, because this has little to do with Hamas. They are terrorizing Palestinians living in the occupied West Bank and in Gaza because they want their shit. Honestly, that's what this really comes down to. They want their shit. They want what's left of the Palestinians' land. And they are trying to take it by any means necessary, whether that is the genocide in Gaza or whether that is terrorizing Palestinians living in the occupied West Bank and moving in settlers who commit violence against them with no accountability because the IOF backs them up. And they're hoping if they don't kill them, they can drive them out. They want to make life so unbearable for people living in the occupied West Bank that they leave so that they can continue to take their shit. That's what's happening. Just imagine that happening in the United States. I want you to imagine a white person in the United States just letting somebody come there and bully them out of their house. You know what would happen here if somebody tried that shit? So if you live in the United States, ask yourself why our government supports that when this is a country that loves the Second Amendment. I want you guys to, if you know a right-winger in your family, ask a right-winger in your family why they support the Israeli regime when they say that they love the Second Amendment and they say that they love property rights and they say that they love strong nationalism, but they support a regime that is going in and using arms to steal property from Palestinians who rightfully own it. Make it make sense. I'm so glad, though, to hear, O'Day, that you are okay. I pray for your speedy recovery. And I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're doing all right, and I pray for your protection. I'm glad to see that you're hearing that you're okay.
In Stalingrad under General Paulus in 1942 because the boxcars were taking Jews to Auschwitz. You see, that is what hatred is, Candace. It's where you hate so much that it becomes self-destructive. It's what's happening to you. You're a very gifted, eloquent broadcaster. You are self-destructing before America's eyes because you have some issue with the Jews, not with Israel. So let me continue. You actually said that Theodor Herzl was a Frankist. By the way, when you attack Frankists as a bunch of Jewish pedophiles, you forget to mention they all became part of your religion. They all converted in 1757 to Catholicism. You always omit that. But you said that Theodor Herzl was a Frankist, and you said he set up the state of Israel as a refuge for pedophiles. This is before Gaza. This is before Rafah, as a refuge for Jewish pedophiles. You always refer to Jews as pedophiles. It's the main word you use about Jews. And every historian knows that what began in Norwich in 1099 with the first blood libel, where the Jews were falsely accused of taking a Christian child and drinking his blood, you actually believed that. You said that Christian bodies, this is before Rafah, this is before Israel, that Christian bodies were found all over Europe. And when you speak about pedophilia, you know, it's funny, you just converted to Catholicism. In 2002, Pope John Paul II, a pope that you would probably like, he was very conservative. He was a great man, great friend of the Jewish community, recognized the state of Israel, sent an ambassador in 1994. He apologized, very frail, to the world Catholic community, saying that at least 2% of all Catholic priests were pedophiles. Later, Pope Benedict XVI apologized again. I met Pope Benedict, a great man, great friend of the Jewish community. He said it was 4%. Then Pope Francis raised it probably even higher, 6%. We know
Schmuley, because again, two things can be true at once. It is true that Candace Owens continues to tell stories and want to say certain things, but she doesn't want to be labeled as certain things, so she uses the word Frankist. And it is true that there is a history of blood libel in the world, of people accusing Jewish people unfairly of like drinking the children's blood or being pedophiles. Yeah, that's true. It is also true that the Israeli regime does harbor pedophiles that would flee the United States and go live there, and they wouldn't face extradition. That's also true. But he's trying to use something true like the history of blood libel as a way to deny the fact that so many pedophiles live and take refuge in the Israeli regime. No, bro.
1 million people, almost 1 million people, children in France alone, according to the French government, were abused by Catholic priests. But you've never once condemned Catholic pedophilia. Okay. Everyone knows it was the biggest scandal in the world. Okay.
Yeah, that actually is. I hate to give a W to Schmuley because he's such a hack and such a demonic lunatic. But that is kind of a W for him because he's right about that. When do you ever see anyone from the right wing criticizing the pedophilia that has been rampant in Catholicism, in the Catholic Church? They love to talk about groomers, trans people, and her talking about that, but you've never once seen any of these people criticize the like rampant pedophilia in the Catholic Church.
But
Okay.
only the Jews are pedophiles.
Okay.
Is that anti-Semitism?
Okay, let me ask Candace, do you condemn pedophiles in the Catholic Church, Christian pedophiles?
It's
Yeah, he's just lying
pedophile,
again.
not
Actually, on my
pedophile.
show, I spoke extensively about Frankism, and I told people that there was a conversion into the Catholic.
Excuse me. I know that we got our language from the Brits, but as they say in that one movie, speak English. You guys spawned the fucking language. It's not pedophile, it's pedophile.
Faith. And one of the things that I believe is that all of the Abrahamic religions have been infiltrated by Satanists. And that is what I've said. So they decided to pull apart only the piece where I'm talking about Judaism and not where I'm speaking about all of the faiths having been infiltrated, and speaking about how it's important for everyone to recognize this so that you can realize that there is this sort of satanic cult that's operating within all of the faiths. And I think that they use Christians and they use Jews and Muslims as well. I've said that on my show multiple times. So he's just absolutely lying about that. I think the difference here is that
Yes,
you could never,
thank
you'd be
you.
hard-pressed
That's
to
where
find a
it's
Catholic
from.
that would in any
Snatch.
capacity defend pedophilia.
I
Now,
forgot the
regarding what
name.
he is saying that I said Judaism is filled with pedophiles, that is objectively nonsense. I am a Christian. I'm aware of what the first 5 books of my Bible are. That would be me insinuating that, okay, well, the first 5 books of my Bible are inspired by pedophilia. That's absolutely false. What I said, and I'm hopeful that this is something that the rabbi will agree with, is that it is a fact that Jewish pedophiles, American Jewish pedophiles, escape and run and hide in Israel, where they are given safe harbor by the government. That is a fact. They will not extradite our pedophiles. That is an absolute nonsense, given the many billions of dollars that we give to Israel, that we can't get back the men that are
I don't
raping
mean
children.
to nitpick, but why does Candace Owens say a nonsense? Like, you can just say it's nonsense. You don't need to say this is a total nonsense. Like, the A is very unnecessary. It's just nonsense is fine. That's not important, though.
Okay. And I can't imagine a single person that would think otherwise, that that is not a nonsense and that we should not be giving back those pedophiles. And to be clear, it wasn't Candace Owens who researched and came up with this. It was an incredible Jewish organization that looked into this, talked about how wrong it was, and brought it into the mainstream media. If you don't like that Israel is harboring pedophiles, that's not on me. That is on the state of Israel. Okay. Again, I am condemning the state of Israel for harboring American pedophiles and not extraditing them. Do you have a disagreement there, Rabbi? If so, please share.
Thank you, Candace. Not only is that an absolute lie and fabrication against Israel,
it's
the most famous example, the
let
country that will now bar you from entering because you're a Holocaust denier, not because of Israel, because a 100-year-old experimentee of Mengele came forward and said, "Do not subject me to this trauma."
She's
and the
just made it
Interior
crystal
Minister
clear
of
she
Australia
doesn't deny
said,
the
"Wait,
Holocaust."
what's it?
Well, she just said it.
No. But she denies
You can't call
Mengele's
someone a
experiments,
Holocaust
and that's
denier
not,
when they've literally
that's
just said
not,
6 million Jews got killed in the Holocaust.
Wait.
That's not Holocaust
Wait a
denial.
second. Come on, Pierce. You're more subtle than that.
It's not about
You
being
can say
subtle.
that
It's
6
about
million
you
Jews
just
died.
heard
You
her
can say that. You can say.
she
Of
believes
course,
What
you
does
can be a
that
Holocaust
even
denier.
mean?
Why don't you let me answer, please? You could say that 6 million Jews were accidentally bombed by Curtis LeMay and by Bomber Harris, and there was no Zyklon B. She said that Mengele did not do those experiments. By the way, this is not my decision. This is the government of Australia that is barring her. Please don't interrupt me, Candace. The most famous example in Australia of a Jewish pedophile. Please don't interrupt me. The most famous example of a Jewish pedophile was a woman named Malka Laufer. She was a religious woman from Melbourne, Australia, and she apparently abused 74 children. She ran to Israel. She was prosecuted by Israel, extradited. She's in Australia being prosecuted right now. This is a total fabrication.
Yeah, I like how he's like, you're banned from going into the Israeli regime. It's like, and she should give a shit. Why? And the Israeli regime has been banned from a bunch of countries, including the Maldives.
Down to what Candace has the most unhealthy obsession with Jewish sexuality. Notice that we all know that the Vatican, of course, took cardinals.
Bro, you don't get to say she's obsessed with Jewish sexuality when you straight up have a sex shop with your daughter, which is weird as fuck. It's weird as fuck. I'm sorry, it's weird. The idea that I don't have a problem with anybody having like a sex shop if they want, like you do you, boo. I believe in freedom. I'm American. But like with your dad? What? Just the thought even just came into my mind like, oh, I can't imagine having a sex shop with my dad. Even having that thought come into my mind makes me want to crawl out of my skin, take my skin suit off, scrub it with bleach, and then throw it out the window. Because that's how, like, How do you have a sex shop with your daughter? That's weird.
Like the Cardinal Archbishop of Boston and gave them the highest positions in the Vatican. She has never criticized that. Only Israel. She's now, Candace, let me ask you a point blank question. Did you say that Theodore Herzl, you said he was a Frankist or descended from Frankists? Again, Frankists all became Catholic. He was Jewish. Did you say that Theodore Herzl set up Israel as a haven for Jewish pedophiles?
Okay, first and foremost, I just want to debunk your claim that what I said was a lie. It is in CBS News, and it was the Jewish Community Watch, an American organization that tracks accused pedophiles who has been trying for years to find a specific pedophile. They're the ones that brought this to the forefront, and CBS News partnered with them.
What's the name of the pedophile? What's the name of that pedophile? I just gave you a name.
Exactly.
What's the name of that pedophile?
Weird.
Well, they were tracking down.
You don't know, do you? Now let's go to the Vatican. How many people they allowed? How many cardinal archbishops were protected?
Please don't cut me off. Please don't cut me off.
Okay.
You told a lie, and so I'm debunking it live for you. The pedophile.
What's the name of the pedophile they're looking for? What's the name?
I'm trying to say it for the third time. His name is
Don't
Jimmy Julius
fact check me.
Carell.
You're looking it up right now? You mean you said all this and you had no idea?
The title of the article in CBS News is entitled "How Jewish American Pedophiles Hide from Justice in Israel."
Guys, this attack from him is so bad faith, though, on her right here, where he's like, oh, now you have to look it up. You didn't know. No, bro, she did know. It's that she's looking it up to fact check you in real time. That's what she's doing. But you're mad, so you're just screaming over her. Yeah, it's just deflection. And you're mad that she criticized your weirdo sex shop with your daughter, which I'm sorry. Yeah, I hate to have to agree with that, but like it is fucking weird. It's creepy. To me, that's not controversial. If you have a sex shop with your daughter, you're a creep. Period.
Israel. CBS News teamed up with a Jewish organization and came to this conclusion because they were the ones that brought it to the forefront. So courageous Jewish people who are.
Do we really need someone to read off the internet in a debate? This is not your
We
show.
really need somebody to fact check
I
this
am
thing.
Did you say that Theodore Herzl
lying.
created the state of?
I think we are
Did she
getting, if you
say
don't mind
that
me
Theodore
saying,
Herzl
I
set
think
up
we
Israel?
are getting too obsessionally sidetracked into paedophilia.
No. This is one critical thing. Did she say that Theodore Herzl set up Israel as a haven for pedophiles?
I want to end. We've got to end the debate. And I want to end the debate by giving you both this opportunity.
Enough
You
with
are
this
both
fact
religious
checking.
people. Right? Every religion purports to be peace-loving. Right? Religions are supposed to spread peace and harmony and love and respect and kindness. Whether you're a Catholic, as I am, as Candace is, whether you're a Jew, as you are, Rabbi Schmuley. So I'm
Yes. Yes, old Bodie Bird. Yes, that's literally what he's doing. That Jewish organization is anti-Semitic.
going to ask you both, and I'll start with you, Candace, to say something nice about Rabbi Schmuley. Be a Christian. What would you say?
Yeah, I actually deeply appreciate Rabbi Schmuley having a platform. It's not something that I've ever said I want his platform stripped away, because I think that he does more in terms of revealing what it is that I'm speaking about when I'm talking about radicalism than anybody else. And so in that way, I'm grateful that he has a platform, and I would never call for him to be banned from anywhere. I hope he gets a megaphone, and I think that
as a
people
human being,
watching his behavior today.
Why
do you see any saving grace as a human being?
Dropping.
I think I will pray for him. I will pray for his conversion into Christianity. I don't think it's normal to lie like that and feel nothing, but he continues to.
I'm sorry, that's a little rich. That's a little rich coming from Candace. I don't think it's normal to lie like that and feel nothing. Bro. Come on. She has told some whoppers with ease that is chilling to me. I used to watch Tucker Carlson's show every night, like his show all the time on Fox, because I think, as somebody who covers politics, is a political commentator, comments on politics, cares about politics, I don't only want to hear what my side is saying. Like, I want to know what the right wing is thinking. I want to know what the right wing is saying. So I used to watch his show all the time. And as we talked about earlier, he would bring Candace on often. And she would tell some of the biggest joke lies about trans people, about Democrats, about immigration. And she would say it like it ain't no thing. Like the way they tell the lie about post-birth abortion, which is not a thing, that's literally made up. And they tell it with such ease. I mean, come on, listen, I know Rabbi Schmuley is a liar, but you don't get to say that. You don't get to talk about people lying with ease, bro.
To do it. He's filing FBI reports against me over pizza. I don't have any hatred in my heart towards Rabbi Schmuley. I really don't. Like I've said, I hope he forever has a platform, because I think
Yes, you either believe in free speech or you don't. If you're calling for somebody to be deplatformed, you don't really believe in free speech. Someone said, I'm a Brit, and that's how we say it here. They're both correct pronunciations. Americans can't say they're correcting our English. I know. You guys get really, really mad. British people always get mad whenever I correct how they should say things, because I know it's the language originated there. I get it. You guys had it first. I'm just an American. We got it from you. I know that. However, it sounds stupid. It sounds better to say pedophile. It's kind of like how you guys say schedule. Nah, son, it's schedule. Listen, all I'm saying is you guys should say it the way we say it. That's all I'm saying. You're right. It originated from you. There's no wrong way to say it in that case. But I'm just saying I think our way is better, the American way. Yeah, I mentioned that already earlier in the stream that she totally lied about what happened to George Floyd, smeared him as a loser drug addict, which honestly and truly and sincerely, anytime I see somebody talk like that about people who struggle with addiction, I think that they can go fuck themselves, because addiction is a very serious thing that people struggle with, that in my view, people are victims of. So when people talk about people struggling with drug addiction like that, it tells me everything I need to know about them. And he was murdered on camera, and we all saw it, and there was a trial. But the thing about right-wingers is they love the criminal justice system when it's in their favor. Like when Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, they love the criminal justice system. Juries are great. Hey, it's the law, man. Listen to the law. Okay, a black guy gets shot. Hey, maybe you should have listened to the cops. But then when it's their side, then all of a sudden, it's their side. Then all of a sudden, Ashley Babbitt's a victim, and we need to be, calling her a victim. And, the justice system is rigged against Trump. And who cares what they ruled and what the jury ruled in the George Floyd case, that he was in fact murdered, because it was just a bunch of, pissy, sorry white people that were trying to, be all BLM. They pick and choose when they respect the criminal justice system. But the fact of the matter is George Floyd was murdered, and she lied about it. Those are the facts, Jack.
I think that it showcases to the world what it is that I'm speaking about when we speak about radical Zionism.
Okay, Rabbi Schmuley, do you want something nice about Candace Owens?
Absolutely. She is gifted by God with incredible eloquence. I think she can repent and sees being a force for hatred against the black community, who call her Candace, who have rejected her utterly. She is one of the most despised women in America by the black community. She is doing a whole new tour to be reaccepted. I think she can use her eloquence to apologize.
I agree, May.
Instead,
that
she
was
said,
hilarious.
she essentially hinted
when he got
that the only reason she attacked the black community for the past 4 years, calling them stupid and dumb and can't vote for themselves and cry wolf and racism, was because she was forced to do so at the Daily Wire. I call it the Daily Liar. Maybe that's correct, but I think she should take personal responsibility. Saying that Israel was created as a haven for Jewish pedophiles by Theodor Herzl is not the way she's going to repent. Saying that she defends Kanye West when he says he loves Hitler. Hitler killed 10,000 Jews a day, 3 9/11s a day for 4 years, between 1941 and 1945.
I think we know
wait, one second, please.
No, I know the greatest hits are coming. It's fine. We've heard them.
But
All I wanted you to do is say something nice.
I think she could use her. I think she could use.
That's how we started this.
I think she could use her eloquence to repent. That's all.
Okay.
And I think finally that if Candace could just come forward and admit that as a Christian, Jesus said clearly that you cannot approach him except through the Jews. He said that the Jews are the root and Christians are the branch. The fact that we in the community consider her the number one anti-Semite.
That's actually not true, and I'm gonna let you finish, but I'm gonna correct you right there. That's not what Jesus said. He never said the only way you can come through me is through Judaism. First of all, people who practice Judaism don't even believe that Jesus Christ is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, that he came to die for man's sins so that we could go to heaven. No, Jesus said the only way you get to heaven is through me, Jesus Christ. He didn't say Judaism. He said him. The only way you get to the Father is through me. These people are not going to manipulate me because I am a Christian and I do know the Bible. So nice try.
America means that she cannot relate to Jesus. So I'm saying become a Christian. That's a nice, very nice thing to say. The fact that Jesus said, I'm sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Come and learn about the Jewish Jesus. You know what, Candace? I'll give you a free copy of my book, Kosher Jesus. It teaches you about the Jewish Jesus. The meek shall inherit the earth. Love your enemies. Turn the other cheek.
Yes, Jesus was Jewish. Yes. But he did not say that in order to go to heaven, you needed to become Jewish, like religiously. No, he criticized the rabbis all the time. In fact, because obviously, as people know, Christianity did not come until after Jesus Christ. That's what it's based off of. But when he would criticize rabbis for being legalistic, it was because Jesus Christ came that he said we no longer had to practice the rules and the laws of the Old Testament. Are you from Ireland? So are you Christian Catholic? No, I am not. Because of that, my heritage goes back to Ireland. Like when I did a DNA test, my DNA is from Ireland, but I wasn't raised Catholic, but my parents were. So my parents hated Catholicism because my parents were very resentful and bitter about the way they were treated growing up, beaten by nuns. So yeah, my parents were very anti-Catholic, but what happened was my parents ended up becoming born again Christians. And so I was raised Christian and in kind of a fair weather fundamentalist household, because my parents got divorced when I was 11 and we were homeless a lot when I was a kid. And I lived in homeless shelters. And then I went into foster care after my parents' divorce and my mom lost custody of us. And then my dad got custody of us. And my dad would go through these phases of extreme fundamentalism. And then he'd forget about it and move on. And we'd keep jumping from church to church. And it was crazy. I consider myself from New York because it's my chosen home. And they say if you've lived in New York for 10 years, you're a New Yorker. So I'm a New Yorker, but I was actually born in Massachusetts. My dad is from Massachusetts, from an Irish Catholic family. And my mom was from Alabama and is from Alabama and is from, I think her parents were Catholic too, but she was adopted. So anyway, yeah. But now that I'm grown up, I identify as a non-denominational Christian. I am a huge critic of evangelical right-wing Christianity. To me, it's not real Christianity. It's a cult. And it is a disgusting distortion of Christianity that has been co-opted by the right-wing Zionist Christians who practice Republican Christianity, where they make Jesus a right-winger and completely distort the Bible. And they believe that they need to support the Israeli regime because they misinterpret revelations. And they think that they need to support the Israeli regime because all the Jews need to get rounded up there and blown up during Armageddon. Evangelical Christians are lunatics. You should do a video about your childhood if that's fine. What would I even talk about? I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it. I just don't know how many people would actually care or be interested to know about it. But it is true that my childhood does inform my politics as an adult because my childhood was pretty crazy. And I grew up in a pretty abusive home. Both of my parents are addicts and alcoholics. And the fundamentalism, but also the way my parents would shift. And the experiences that I had informed what I believe, just like it informs the way all of us are. Yeah, for those of you, I don't even mind talking about it. I would make a video about it, but I feel like it needs, if I were to make a video about my childhood, about how I grew up, I feel like it needs to also have a theme that can help other people. Because otherwise, why would anybody give a shit about my story or my childhood? I would need to woven something in that can help people, you know, something that would appeal or help or do something for others, you know. Oh, I've definitely been through some shit in my life. I think that's why I am the way I am. It's also why I don't take shit from people, because I've been through like a lot of shit, and I'm like, and part of it's my personality. If I did do something like that where I talk about my childhood, the only thing I'm worried about that I would have to be careful about doing is not doing too much to expose certain things that would upset my sisters. Because my sisters are very private, and my sisters would get mad at me for telling too much about our life. She doesn't get mad at me anymore, but one of my sisters used to get really upset with me that I would tell people we were homeless. Because she was so embarrassed that we were homeless. She would get so mad at me that I would casually tell people we were. And this is when we were kids. I was like 12 years old telling people we were homeless, that we had been homeless. And my older sister would get so mad at me being like, why are you telling people that? So I would just have to be careful about how I told certain stories as a way to not embarrass my sisters about some of the trauma we went through. But I don't care about offending my parents because I don't talk to my parents, really. I mean, I talk to my dad every once in a while. I'm trying to rebuild that relationship, but I haven't talked to my mom in 20 years. Anyway, let's finish this lunatic. I'll be 2 years on Sunday. Sober? Thank you again for the super chat, old bony bird. I appreciate you so much. Do you mean 2 years sober? If you do, that is incredible. Congratulations. I told you guys that both of my parents are addicts and alcoholics. I am an alcoholic, but I'm sober, and I recently in July celebrated 10 years of sobriety. I've been sober for 10 years now, which is truly incredible. And I'm so grateful for, because at the time that I got sober, I did not think that it was possible. But old Bony Bird, a little bit to what you were saying, like reminding me that like 2 years of sobriety, you are still in very early sobriety. And it is very difficult in the beginning. At least for me, it was. My first 2 years sucked. Like it sucked 2 years of sobriety. Like I had a really hard time. I think I was like 4.5 years sober before I finally started to be happy about it. So yes, congratulations. It's sad that you had to be homeless in the richest country on earth. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. I was homeless a lot. I was homeless as an adult too, when I was getting sober. And kind of going to my own personal story and how it informs my politics is when I was trying to get sober, I got kicked out of my church. And one of the reasons why they kicked me out was because I was staying on the couch of somebody who used to also go to the church that they had kicked out for being gay. And they didn't want her going to the church anymore because she was gay. And they didn't want me going to the church because I was staying with her, even though she was the only one to offer me a place to sleep so I didn't have to sleep on the street. No one from the church offered me a place to stay or to help me. And those things also inform what I think and what I believe. I know, that's why it's always hilarious to me when people will be like, oh, you're just like, I'm sure you get money from your daddy. I'm like, ugh, from your mouth to God's ear. I wish. My dad is such a broke motherfucker. Like my dad, when we were growing up, he used to make us work and take our paychecks. Like literally would take our money. Like I had to work full time during the summer at 14 and he would take my paychecks. Sober since 1977. Nice, Sailor Jerry. 13 years sober. Amazing. Amazing. That's amazing. Guys, for those of you who don't know, who are not addicts or alcoholics, getting sober is not easy. Genuinely, it's been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I have been through some shit. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, was getting sober. Thank you, O'Day. Well, that's partially why I don't get as bothered when people will, attack me and say certain things, because it's like, I mean, not to say that it doesn't suck getting attacked. It does. Like, it can be overwhelming to be attacked 24/7. But like, at the same time, like, it doesn't, the specifics of what they say, oftentimes I'm like, yeah, but these people, if anything, what sucks about being attacked, I think, is just the amount. Like when you feel like you're getting inundated with hate, that can be overwhelming. But when people say things like that to me, like, oh, you're anti-Semitic, it bothered me at first. It doesn't bother me at all. But when people say things like, oh, I bet you have a rich daddy, that genuinely makes me laugh, because I'm like, you have no idea how much I would have loved that. How much I would have loved to have had a rich daddy. And how jealous I used to be of girls when I was growing up for having rich parents, how like resentful I would be of them. All right, this is almost over, guys. Sorry. I'm sorry that I interrupted the flow of our stream too many times during this to go on some separate tangent. Sorry about that. We're almost through it. We're at 3 hours now. I've been streaming for 3 hours. Shit. Well, thank you guys so much for staying with me with this. And thank you guys so much. Everybody who's been giving me a super chat. Thank you so much. Everybody who's become a member. Thank you so much. Doing this 3 hour stream. And I promise that it's almost over.
Don't say, and stop calling me a killer. Stop saying I'm trying to kill you. You've said it over and over again. You are saying what Henry II said, rid me of this troublesome priest.
I think we've established you're struggling to find anything nice to say about Candace, but I appreciate you both coming on together for this debate. I think it's been very illuminating, and thank you for doing it. Thank you for being uncensored.
Thank you very much, Piers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. That was really embarrassing. That was really embarrassing. Bye, Jerry Sailor. Not in a hurry to listen to more Schmuley. Maeve, that's okay, because you should be able to replay it. Also, guys, don't forget to join the Discord. And follow me on other platforms too. Because, I'm also on Twitter, and I'm also on TikTok, and I'm also on Instagram. And one of the best ways to support me, if you want to support me, is to become a patron on my Ko-Fi. Oh yeah, I'm on Twitch too. I forget about Twitch because like I don't have any community really on Twitch. I don't have many followers on Twitch. But yeah, if you want to support me, a great way to do it is also on Ko-Fi, which is right there. It's at I'm Blakely. And the reason for that is because it is totally separate. Like, it's like Patreon where you can support me every month with like a set amount. But it's not subject to the whims of any of the other platforms, because I've come under attack from YouTube and from Instagram and from TikTok and from Twitter. So, and obviously, so all of those things. So like, I'm not saying don't support me on YouTube or any of those other platforms. Like, I appreciate the support, and I love like having all the support on YouTube and on TikTok and X and stuff. But I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to support me in a way that for sure, I can't be, just to support me monthly if you want to. Like, that's why I have the Ko-Fi. I don't know what you're referring to there, Baz, but yes, we do live in an upside down world, because I've never said anything that deserved for me to be censored. And yet I have been, or attacked by these platforms or by people. I've never said anything that was untrue. I've never said anything that was a lie, that spread misinformation. I've never called for violence on anyone. I've never I've never, attacked somebody over their race or their religion. Yet we live in an upside down world. So because I criticize the Israeli regime, I get attacks nonstop, constantly. I want this to be a podcast so people can listen to it on Apple Podcasts. But the reason why I haven't yet is because I haven't really figured out how to do it. And I just don't have the equipment for it yet. Like, I don't have a microphone. Like, I'm just talking into my laptop. I'll do it eventually. Yeah, I know. Britain doesn't have a First Amendment. That's why I can't stand when people don't stand up for the First Amendment here. And they defend censorship on here. On any platform. Because the second you start to allow censorship on one side, don't think they're not going to come for you. And they're already trying to pass laws to make it illegal to criticize the Israeli regime. Otherwise, you're anti-Semitic. Yeah, I agree, Maeve. There needs to be public platforms. There needs to be platforms that are actually like public, owned by the public. I'm not sure about Twitch. I've heard Twitch is very censorious, but I'm not sure. I really honestly haven't put as much effort into Twitch because Twitch confuses me. But guys, I know that I put in the title that we're going to go over the 2 nice Jewish boys thing. But we're going to have to do that next time because this has already been 3 hours. So I got to go. It's already been 3 hours. I have a lot of other content that I still need to make tonight and edit. Content to make, content to edit, work I have to do. So we'll do the 2 nice Jewish boys podcast next time if you guys still want to do it. Well, I'm streaming this podcast right now. Not podcast, this stream on Twitch also. I'm streaming on multiple platforms. I'm doing it through a software, through a third-party software. Man. I'm sorry, man with the long last name. It's been 3 hours. I'll do it next time, I promise. If people still even want to go over it. But I wanted to go over it because it was so deranged. But this did take a long time. And that was partially my fault, I admit, because I kept pausing and going on tangents. All right, you guys, I'm going to get going because I got to cook. Because in addition to being a left-leaning, but I guess not left enough for the leftists in the Green Party, but also too left, according to a lot of Blue MAGA, but I'm also a Christian, but I'm also an anti-Zionist, but I'm also a trad spouse, so I got to go cook for my husband, and I'm also non-binary. So I'm going to go cook. I love you guys. Thank you again, everybody who became a member, who supports me and supports the work that I'm doing. Thank you for everybody who gave me super chats and super stickers and super thank yous. And thank you to everybody who's ever donated to my Venmo or has become a member on Ko-Fi. I love you guys. And I will see you. What day is it today? Thursday? Tuesday. I'll see you on Tuesday. I'm making tacos. O'Day, exactly, O'Day, exactly. If you want to know what all of those different contradictory seemingly things that I am, really come down to? Hamas, which I also get called all the time. Yeah, I love tacos. I especially love really, 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 really spicy tacos. Spicy tacos. Yeah, you're right, Masson. Tuesday. All right, everybody. Thank you. I love you. I'll probably be tweeting. I'm sure the Houthis. I'll probably be tweeting. I usually tweet as I'm like laying down and can't sleep because I have a hard time sleeping. And yeah. If you don't already follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. Okay, last thing, and then I'll leave for those of you who are still there. I really, really wish I could get a hold of the people that have my handle name on Twitter because they don't use the accounts. And I would love for my handle to be the same across all the platforms. But my handle on Instagram and Twitter is @_I am Blakely because just the regular I am Blakely was taken. But when I looked at the accounts that took it, neither of the accounts are active. Like they don't use them. It sucks. I wish I could find those people so I could ask them to give it to me. Oh, thanks, oh Bernie Bird, for saying I should feel that you hope I feel better. I know. I hope I do too. I'm not as nauseous as I was, which is good. You know, I thought I would be more nauseous after watching Rabbi Schmuley for an hour, but the nausea kind of cleared up. So I'm glad about that. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. I love you all. O'Day, I'm praying for you, for your safety. You guys all pray if you pray, if you're religious, pray for O'Day. Living in a very dangerous situation right now. Continue to pray for the people of Gaza and free Palestine. Free Palestine all day, every day until it's free. Bye, everybody. See you Tuesday at 4. Or maybe a little because I'm always late. Bye.